Shah. He completed his PhD and postdoctoral in management, corporate stakeholder management, Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning at Prasanthi Nilayam. He is an extremely bright individual. He's won the Governor's Gold Medal from Sai Baba for his achievement. He also has a Master of Philosophy program in Business Management in 2006, and also has the President of India Gold Medal for standing first at the MBA program at the Sathya Sai University in 2004. And he used to also teach the marketing and total quality management, in that Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. He has published about 100 articles and several case studies and technical notes, and is pretty accomplished in his field. Dr. Shashank Shah currently has a joint appointment as visiting scholar at Harvard Business School and project director and postdoctoral fellow at the Harvard University South Asia Institute at United States. He also serves as the editor-in-chief of the Postdoctoral Editors Association. Above all, he is blessed to be from the family of Sai devotees.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Offering our loving pranams at the divine lotus feet of our most beloved Swami. A very warm good morning to all of you. It's a privilege to be here. I've never been to St. Louis and this part of America, the mid-central region, so I was delighted when I got the invitation from Sister Greta last year itself that if I can come for this year's retreat, and I immediately agreed. And I'm so glad to be here. So thank you for having me here. Through my two talks, both today and tomorrow, I will attempt to capture the essence of the theme, self-transformation, based on Swami's message, discourses, writings, anecdotes, and experiences. So I've divided my talk into two parts. The first part is about the root of the word transformation, which is transform. And then we go into the process, Asian, which we will do tomorrow. So that's the game plan. I'll start with something which happened in the veranda in the year 2008. There was a group of devotees from Europe, I think from Germany, who were sitting in the audience in the third block right before Swami. And they were presenting a program, at the end of which, usually when students present a program and Swami appears to be happy, they always shout out, "We love you, Swami." So this group of devotees from Germany also attempted the same. And they shouted out, "We love you, Swami." The usual reaction from Swami used to be, he used to say in return, "I love you too." But that day Swami said something very different. He said, "No, no, no, don't love me. Love my message." That was a very important incident, and I always make an attempt to recollect it, because Swami had himself initiated us that it is no longer important to love him alone. It is as important to love his message. Swami always used to say, "I do not want your devotion. I want your transformation. Because what will you give me which is not mine? The love in your heart is also instilled there by me. The only thing that you can give me is to change yourself and offer yourself to me." It is said in the scriptures, "Jantunam narajanma durlabham." Among all the 84 lakhs of species on this creation, planet Earth, human beings are the crest jewel of creation. And why are we considered the crest jewel of creation? What is so special about us, which the other 83 lakh, and by lakh is 100,000, so among the 8.4 million species, we are the crest jewel. So what is not available in the other 839,999 species? And that is this unique aspect that if a dog is born, it dies as a dog. If an elephant is born, it dies as an elephant. If a tiger is born, though the king of the jungle, it dies as a tiger. But man alone has the capacity to be born as man and die with the realization that he is God. That is the unique aspect of human life, and hence it is the crest jewel of creation. When a child is born, it has more of animal-like tendencies. The parents intervene and groom it into become a good, cultured, disciplined, civilized human being. And that's why the importance of the role of the parents. But that is not enough. Sages and scriptures have said that becoming a human alone is not enough. Human life has to be channelized towards becoming divine. Because as Swami had said, the objective of human life is threefold. First, give up animal qualities. Second, develop and sustain human qualities. And third, attain divine qualities. This is the threefold progress trip towards divinity. So while the first step is initiated by the parents, and hence the importance of their role, the second step is initiated by the spiritual system, which since times immemorial has been presented before us. And that is to remove those small traces of animal behavior which lies in us and help us propel into the divinity that we truly are. Swami used to give 2 or 3 examples in this matter as to why human beings need to move ahead towards divinity and progress in the path of transformation. He used to give the example of paddy. We all have this white polished rice. In India, the basmati rice is very, very premium product. This polished rice has much more value than the paddy. In the paddy, the husk is removed, it is pounded, it is gone through all the processes, and then it becomes paddy. So what has happened from the husk to from the paddy stage to the shining basmati rice stage? Transformation. You have raw cotton, which has no value. But when that cotton is processed and converted into fine cloth, its value goes up so many times more. It becomes valuable, high-priced, premium product available in the stores. What has happened to this journey from cotton to high-quality cloth? Transformation. You find dark-colored ore in the womb of the earth, in the mines. And from that ore, it becomes this shining jewel which adorns the neck of the deities in the temples, and the ears and the necks of our sisters and mothers as jewels. Gold. What has happened from the journey from that ore in the mine to the jewel on the deity's form? Transformation. So Swami said that if these inanimate objects can increase in value so much more fold by transformation, how much more can human beings progress if they move ahead on the path of transformation? So with that brief overview, I would like to decode what transformation stands for, because I wish to dwell on each of these aspects as Swami has shared with us over a lifetime, and as Kreta very nicely said, that every action, every experience, every discourse, every message was meant only for a single objective: transformation. Swami always used to say, I have no desires except one. And what is that desire? To make you desireless. That was Swami's only desire. My only desire is to make you desireless. How interesting, isn't it? So let's move ahead and start with the first alphabet of transformation. And I'm going to attempt to expound and explore these 14 alphabets in the next 2 days and help ourselves understand what transformation stands for. You all have selected a very heavy word. a very, very potent word, a very, very important word. And I guess we'll have to be giving our best in order to internalize and move ahead in this journey. So the first alphabet is T. What does T stand for? T stands for truth. What is this truth? Yes, truth, thumbs up. But what is this truth that this T stands for? The earth is round, isn't it? That's what we are taught in geography classes, that the earth is round. But the earth around our house is flat. So is the earth round or is the earth flat? Right? Both of these are as true as they are said to be true. The sun rises in the east in the morning and the sun sets in the west in the evening. Right? That's what we teach in primary school. That's what Kreta would be teaching in her school. But does the sun rise and set, or does the earth rise and set? The sun is neither rising nor setting. It is the earth which is rotating and revolving around the sun, which is rising and setting. And hence, is seeing believing, or is there something beyond what we apparently see, which is the real truth? We always base all our assumptions on what we see, on what we perceive, because the senses are considered to be the most powerful instruments that God has given us. And that's why in Sanskrit, senses are also called matraha, means measurement, instruments for measurement. So what are they helping us measure? By seeing, by listening, by smelling, by eating, by touching. They are helping us measure whatever we see and perceive in this tangible world. But how effective are these instruments? Is the question we have to ask ourselves. When the instruments are normal, the experience is normal. When the instruments are faulty, the experience is faulty. The same sweet will taste bitter when we have having the quinine medicine in the midst of a bout of malaria, at least in India when it was very prevalent. The same food will taste without any taste, tasteless, when we are having fever. So the instruments which we are using and depending on to understand the truth are themselves not sufficient. Swami always used to tell the MBA students, and Brother Umesh asked me yesterday, what does Swami teach in the MBA class? How different is the MBA in Prashanti Nilayam from elsewhere? Does Swami talk about profit maximization? I said, yes. Swami talks about profit maximization, but those profits have to be in a limit. And Swami always used to say, how much ever the shareholders may expect increasing dividends from a company, you should not let your profit margin rise above 10%. Because there is no end to greed. So in the MBA class, Swami had told us once, he said, the body is a limited company. Why is a limited company? Because it has its own limitations. The body temperature has to be 98.4 Fahrenheit. If it goes up, fever starts. If it goes below, some problem with the system. The blood pressure has to be exactly 120/80. If it rises, high blood pressure. If it reduces, low blood pressure. Every aspect of this body is limited. Right? But there are animals who are much better than human beings in perceiving things because they have a different spectrum on which they operate. A dog will be howling while we are enjoying ourselves because the dog is able to see what we are not able to see. It is able to perceive sounds which are kilometers away when we cannot even imagine that there is something coming in. We have birds which start flying and frittering away minutes before a natural disaster is going to strike. The entire spectrum on which these animals operate is very different. But human beings operate on a different spectrum. So what is the real truth that we are talking about? We always feel truth is, speak the truth. First is to understand what this truth is. And that is possible when we do this kind of an analysis for ourselves. That science describes truths based on experiments, which are again having their own set of assumptions. Spirituality explains truths based on experience. And this experience is not limited to what we perceive. Like Kreta shared that example of that visiting card. The sages of the yore, and Swami had said, why do we say that the scriptures are supreme and the message of the scriptures is the highest? Is because the sages of the yore, through their meditation and sadhana, moved from their mind to the higher mind, from the higher mind to the super mind, from the super mind to the illuminated mind, from the illuminated mind to the overmind. And after crossing the overmind, they move to the stage which is called amanaska, mindless stage. At that stage where the mind does not exist, and again I go back to Kreta, she said, first have peace in the mind. When the mind does not exist, these sages were able to capture the vibrations, the highest cosmic vibrations. And these are the scriptural injunctions which are mentioned in the Vedas. They are not of human origin. They are of divine origin. And hence the truth described in these scriptures is the highest truth. And Swami used to mention one verse very often. He used to say, these sages after this meditation and realizing the truth said, Vedaham etam purusham mahantam aditya varnam tamasah parastat. How is this supreme reality? How is this divinity that we are talking about? And they described, they said, oh, it is so beautiful. It is beyond the shining splendor of 1,000 suns. That is the supreme truth that we are talking about. Until we are able to move ahead and achieve that, what do? We go by the experience of others. If I have never been to Prashanti Nilayam, I will listen to Kreta, I will listen to Vijay, I will listen to Umesh Bhai and try and find out how Prashanti Nilayam is, how the whole system works, what is Swami's message. This, in the Indian scheme of philosophy called Shat Darshanas, under the Nyaya Darshana, this is called Shabda Pramana. I have never been to a place, but based on what others say, I am following the message, the details, the kind of various aspects of that place. Similarly, till we proceed and achieve that objective, we have to depend on the scriptural truths and then begin our journey. So the fundamental aspect of this truth is that divinity which we want to achieve lies within us. The process is the small I to the larger I. That is the beginning of the journey of transformation. Because if you don't know where you are heading to, you will never reach that. Swami always used to tell us, do you know a dead letter box? What is a dead letter box? A dead letter box is a place where envelopes or letters without a from address and to address are lying. You don't have a from address from where this envelope is come. You don't have a to address from where it is going. If you don't have a from address, if you don't have a to address, that letter goes into the dead letter box of the postal system. Swami said similarly, today all of you are leading this kind of a life. You don't know from where you have come. You don't know to where you are going. If you do not have a from and a to address, you are not going to be able to make this journey. This journey of transformation has to start with the realization of this truth as to where we are and where we need to go. That is the first T, truth. A little practical aspect of that is speaking the truth. How do we speak the truth? What I discussed till now is in the Vedic parlance called Ritam. And what we do on a more daily level is called Satyam. and Nijam, that is truth and factual stuff. I will come to Swami's experiences also. I will share anecdotes also. I see very anxious and serious faces. Yes, because I think the fundamental journey has to be a little more rigorous, and then we'll come into nice stories as well and a lot of message. How do we speak the truth? And Swami had given a very simple single line as to how we should speak the truth. And I think every day when we talk, or every day when we espouse the virtue of truth, we must have this as our guideline. And what did Swami say? Anudvega karam vakyam satyam hiti priyam chayat. How should your truth be? Anudvega karam. It should not arouse, irritate or anger the other person. Satyam, it should be honest. Preeti, it should be pleasant. Hitam, it should be such that it focuses on the welfare of the other person. That is the way we need to speak the truth. We always say, oh, I spoke the truth. I told him that he's a hypocrite. Is this the way we need to speak the truth? Or else behind that person's back, oh, you know, she's always in every shopping center or mall, so I see her every weekend when she is free. Criticizing someone else. And this is among the 9-point code of conduct. We should not speak ill of others in their presence. We should not speak ill of others even behind their back. That is the parameter and the measurement of the way we should speak the truth. Neither harmful in front nor harmful behind. And then, how does speaking the truth help us? There's this very nice story of a person. Swami had shared this as a Chinnakatha. There was this person who was going around on the road, and there was this Guruji who was giving a discourse. At the end of the discourse, this man was somewhere standing behind. He thought, let me go and find out how I can benefit from this Guruji's message. So he went to him and asked, I also want to change. Please tell me, how should I change? So the Guru asks him, what are your drawbacks? He said, stealing, drinking and lying. These are my 3 drawbacks. So the Guruji said, okay, you decide one thing that you will give up out of these 3. So that the thief immediately analyzed, stealing, if I stop stealing, my profession, my business will stop. Stealing, I can't give up. Drinking also very difficult, because after stealing, that guilt does not spare me, so I have to drink and dilute that. Lying, I can give up, it's easy, not a big deal. So he told Guruji, I can give up lying. So he said, okay, you start. So he decided, from this day I will stick to the path of truth. That week he had planned to go to the king's treasury and proceed with his profession of thieving. He went to the treasury that night and was about to open up the treasure chest. And there he found one more person who was there, who just arrived there, also to thieve. So he said, both of us have the same objective. Why don't we share the booty? So they said, okay, done. So they found 3 big diamonds inside. He said, okay, there are 3. Let's not be greedy. You take one, I take one. Let's leave one here and leave. So he said, okay. Next day it was in public news that there has been a theft in the king's treasury. What do we do? So the king sent his minister and said, go and find out as to how this theft has happened. So the minister went there and he said, oh sir, there were 3 precious gems in your treasure chest, and we found out that one particular person has stolen it. So the king said, okay, start your investigation. And after that, they came back and they said, oh, all 3 are gone and we are not able to trace the person. So the king said, an XYZ person is available in the neighboring village, go and get him. So they got him. And then that person said that, yes, I have stolen, but I had taken only 1 diamond. And when this thief came to the to the court, he saw this person sitting on the throne. He said, I have taken one diamond, but that person there on the throne had taken the other. The king himself had decided to see how secure his kingdom is, so he was the second thief who had gone to loot his own treasury. But the minister had come and told him that all 3 diamonds are stolen. So finally it was revealed that when the minister went to do the investigation, he had stolen the 3rd diamond himself and pocketed, because he knew that the king will never believe the thief. Little did he know that the king himself was one of the thieves. So the king was so happy that this guy spoke the truth, that the thief spoke the truth, and his minister spoke a lie, that he sent the minister to the jail and made this thief his prime minister, because he was an honest thief. Given an opportunity, he would be a great minister. What is the moral of the story? Swami said, see, the thief decided to follow the path of truth. The only decision to follow the path of truth itself led him to becoming the prime minister of that kingdom. You take up one virtue which is dear to you, and that virtue will take you through. So that is the essence of this T, truth. We move to the next alphabet, R. R stands for righteousness. Fundamental principles. Dharma. What is Dharma? Swami always used to say, Dharayate iti dharma. That which sustains this entire creation is Dharma. In the Manusmriti, written eons ago by the very founder of the human race, as given in the scriptures, Manu, the king, he had described Dharma. He had written, Dhriti Kshama Damasteyam Shaucha Mindriya Nigraha Dhirvidya Satyamakrodho Dashakam Dharma Lakshanam. What are the 10 characteristics of this principle called Dharma? Dhriti, perseverance. Kshama, forgiveness. Damaha, self-restraint. Asteyam, not to steal. Shaucha, purity within and without. Indriya Nigraha, sense control. Dhi, buddhi, discrimination. Vidya, accurate knowledge. Satya, truth. Akrodho, non-anger. These are the 10 qualities of Dharma. So complicated, so difficult. Every day if you have to remember what Dharma constitutes, and if you have to remember these 10 qualities, becomes very difficult. So I will give you 2 sentences from one of the discourses that Swami gave in December 1963 at Sri Sailam, one of the great Shiva pilgrimages in South India. Swami had said, Dharma is a body of principles that are fundamental to social stability and individual progress. Both of these are equally important. There are various branches of Dharma, obligatory duty, duties pertaining to status and stages of life. But the aim of all is to help one stage by stage towards liberation from grief and from the chain of birth and death. Then Swami said, see how grand is the conception of each of these. Compare this with the common meaning of Dharma as it is communicated in daily life. How far it has been misinterpreted by today's mankind. What is Dharma? There are 2 types of Dharma Swami always used to emphasize on. One is Paradharma and one is Swadharma. Paradharma is that which is connected with the body. Everything that we do with our body is Paradharma. Swadharma is the dharma which we have towards our inner soul. The dharma of the body keeps changing based on our stage of evolution. Brahmacharya, when we are a student, our dharma is to study. Grihastha, when we are married, our dharma is to lead a good family life. Vanaprastha, retirement age, our dharma is to move beyond our attachment. Sannyasa, post-retirement, that stage no longer exists now, because we are happy being grihastha all our lives. There is no, people always ask, what has Swami said about getting married? I always said, Swami has said a lot of things that we should do after our marriage stage is over. But we never move into that. We are always in grihastha all our lives. So this duty of paradharma keeps changing, but swadharma is our permanent duty that we need to discharge at all times, which is to our soul. In Dharmavahini, Swami has elaborated that. And I urge each one of you to go back to each of these masterpieces that Swami has penned down. The best sadhana that we can do is to read and introspect and internalize Swami's message. Then action will become superfluous. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, these are the three stages. Read, contemplate, internalize. Nididhyasanam is putting into practice. Once we know that we can do it well, it automatically gets into action. How do we balance these two? Very difficult. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, the great saint of West Bengal, used to give this beautiful example which compares how to practice these two together. And he used to say there is this example of a maid servant in the master's house. In India, we have maid servants in every household because all the household duties will be outsourced to the maid servant. Cleaning, washing, sweeping, brooming, everything the maid servant will do. The lady of the house will cook and take care of the people of the house. Maid servant will do everything else. So the maid, so you have to lead a life like the maid servant leads a life in the house of the master. How? The maid servant does everything in the house as if it is her own house. She considers the wife to be like her sister, the head of the house to be like a father or a brother, the children of the house to be like her own children. She discharges all the duty of the household like it is her own house. But all the time her attention is on her real house in the village. My parents, my siblings, if married, my husband and children. All the time her attention is on her own house in the village. So Ramakrishna used to say, you have to lead a life like she does. Your own family, your own people are like the people the maid servant serves. You take care of your parents, you take care of your wife, your children, your siblings. But you have to all the time think about your real house and the place where your own people stay. And that is the abode of God. You need to constantly remember and realize that our journey into this world is a visit. This is not the permanent destination. Swami always used to say, you are only visiting this planet. It is a 40, 50, 60, 80, 100 years time period in which you are getting to visit and work on yourself. After that, you have to go back from where you have come. And if you want to stop this coming and going, Swami used to compare this with the parliamentary elections, with the Congress elections. Every 4 years, you have to go back to the people to request for votes. Go for 4 years, be in the Congress, come back, again start the journey. This is exactly the way we are leading our lives. Come back from the abode of God, try and work out our progress here, again go back, again come back, again go back. Swami said if you want to stop this, you have to realize what the true abode is and then work towards achieving it. So this whole process of balancing these two is like the seesaw. In the seesaw, it's very difficult to be in equilibrium. One will be up, the other will be down. So Swami used to compare that. As the attachment for the world goes up, the attachment for God comes down. When the attachment to God goes up, the attachment to the world comes down. This is a seesaw all the time in our lives. On Sunday at the center, we are high here. In middle of the week, we are high here. So how do we ensure that this is in equilibrium? In swimming, we have buoyancy aids when we are learning swimming. The way to be in equilibrium, Swami has said, is to get these buoyancy aids for us and tie them around us. And what is that? That is good company. Swami always used to tell the students, while you are in Prashanti Nilayam, you all are performing extremely well. Discipline, devotion, dedication, extraordinary. But when you go out, very difficult to practice any of these. Why? It is natural, Swami said, because when there is a mud pot of water, in the olden days, what do you do to ensure that the water doesn't evaporate? when there is heat in the water on the mud pot from outside, the water inside starts evaporating. So what did the people in the olden times do? They used to put another layer of water around that mud pot. So that layer of water keeps this mud pot cool. The water inside does not evaporate, and you can drink that cool water. Swami said, similarly, if you want the water of all the virtues and values that I have invested in you to not get evaporated by the heat of the outside world, you have to create a layer of good company around you so that these values and virtues retain themselves in you. Swami used to give the example of a paper. If you pack jasmine flowers in a paper, you will get beautiful fragrance of jasmine from it. If you pack pakodas in it, you get pakoda fragrance. And then if you pack dried fish in it, you will get the fragrance of dried fish. Swami used to joke. So this paper is ourself, and this jasmine, pakoda and dried fish are the kind of company that we keep. If we want to ensure that the right kind of balance is maintained in our lives, the company we keep should be extraordinary. Dust in the company of air rises. The same dust in the company of water sinks. Dust by itself does not have any properties of rising or sinking. It is the company which the dust keeps helps it to rise or sink. So if we want to progress in our life of transformation, we need to keep the right kind of company. But it is not possible to keep the right kind of people around us. How do we ensure that our bosses, our peers, our juniors, everybody in our organization is as good as required to help us in our spiritual progress? So Swami used to say, Satsanga is not just good company. Satya plus Sangha is Satsanga. To keep company of good thoughts at all the time is true good company, because they are your best friends. And I would go one step further, and at that time it wasn't possible. Now it is, and hence Swami did not share that we have fantastic multimedia aids all the time with us. Facilitate good company with the use of those multimedia aids when you are going to office, when you are coming back from office, when you take a break, when you are cooking, when you are bathing. Unending flow of Swami's discourses, bhajans and messages is going on and on and on, so that the internal chattering stops. Let the external stimuli be played so that this stops working and this opens up, so that this is the one which is taking in and this is the one which is absorbing it. That is the best way to keep ourselves in satsanga all the time. The second part of Dharma is the relative importance of these two. One was balancing, the other is importance of these two. Swami had given a very nice example in the Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha discourse of 1965. Addressing the women in the audience, Swami said, when you are cooking dal, do you put equal proportion of dal and salt? What do? Main course is dal. Yes, Rati auntie? Main course is dal. Salt is just for the taste, right? Imagine if you put the same amount of dal and salt, how tasty the dal will become. Swami said, and in Telugu, dal is pappu and salt is uppu. Swami said, uppu should be just enough to give the taste of pappu, which is dal. Similarly, in our daily life, we are always taught that our work, our family, our responsibilities, these are more important. Spirituality is just the salt which is required. Swami said, no. Your housing, your clothing, your family and your work is only an uppu, the salt required to sustain you, because your mainstream is to achieve the objective for which the human life is given. And Swami used to give a very nice example of this boatman and his customer. There was this boatman and the customer going across the river, and this boatman, And the customer is a Pandit that day. He was having a conversation. The Pandits usually have an attitude of showing off what they are good at. Oh, I'm good at this, I'm good at that. Do you know this? I know this. So he started asking him, so do you read newspapers? The boatman said, no, I don't read newspapers because I'm illiterate. So the Pandit said, oh, you don't read newspapers? 1/4 of your life is waste. Then the Pandit said, oh, do you know how to sing? Come on, sing while we are crossing the river. The Pandit said, no, nobody has ever taught me how to sing. So the Pandit said, you don't know how to read, you don't know how to sing? 50% life is waste. Then the Pandit said, okay, let us engage in some spiritual conversations that will be that will be good use of time. So this man said, sir, I don't know how to read, I don't know how to sing. How do you think I will know spiritual matters? So this Pandit said, oh, you don't even know scriptures? 3/4 of your life is waste. Just then the wind started blowing really strong and the boat was wobbling. So this boatman asked the Pandit, the scholar, do you know how to swim? So this scholar said, no, I don't know how to swim. So this boatman said, oh sir, I'm so sorry. 100% of your life is waste. And he jumped out of the boat and started swimming to the shore. And this Pandit, with all his wisdom, was on his way, you know where. Swami said, see, it is so important to know how to swim if you are traveling on a river to go to the other side. In Telugu, swimming is called Ita. Swami said, just like Ita is required to cross the river, to cross this ocean of samsara, the Gita is required. You need to know how you are going to cross this ocean of samsara if you are living in it. And hence in all the forms of education that we get, the spiritual education is most important. But Swami used to say, unfortunately, nobody talks about it. And he used to give one more humorous example of what happens. This is all from the book, My Dear Students. There are 5 volumes. It's available in Tustin bookstore in Prashanthi. I had an opportunity to work on them while I was at Prashanthi Nilayam. The 108 discourses Swami had given to students. So in volume 1 itself, there's one very nice story. Swami talks about a person who had gone to the temple. And there was this huge idol of Ganesha. Now we in India have this habit, whenever we go to a temple, we touch every aspect of that deity's body. You touch the feet, you touch the hands, you touch the trunk, ears, you whisper something into the ears, all kinds of things we do. This man thought of a very innovative idea. He said, let me even touch the navel of Ganesha. So he put his finger right inside the navel of Ganesha. And there in the navel of Ganesha, one scorpion was sitting. So the moment this man put his hand in the navel, his finger in the navel, the scorpion nicely stung this man's finger. Now there was a long line of people standing behind this man. So he thought that he was showing that he is very devoted. But if people realize that he has made a fool of himself, they will laugh at him. So instead of crying out in pain, he cried out in bliss. Oh, there is so much of joy in the navel of Ganesha. So all of these people behind said, oh, this is a new revelation. If I touch the navel of Ganesha, I get more joy from the idol. So each of them started putting their finger in the navel of Ganesha. The scorpion had a blissful meal. Each of these people realized that they were fooled by the person before them. Each of them did not want to be proven as a fool, so they continued this drama all through, going on regaling the bliss in the navel of Ganesha. Swami said, the world is like this. The parents don't tell the children that this world is not as glamorous as it appears on YouTube and Facebook. This world is a great responsibility. Relationships are responsibility. Education, qualifications, marriage and children are responsibilities. And that the real objective of human life is to ensure that we cross all of this. The distinction between the Uppu and the Pappu is not communicated. And hence I have taken upon the responsibility to ensure that this true education is communicated to the world. That is the second aspect of Dharma, that we need to know what is more important of the two. A very nice analogy, and we will move ahead. Swami always used to say, whenever you are walking, your shadow walks along with you, right? Now when you are walking, that shadow goes in mud, in muck, over thorns, over flowers, over everything. But you are not bothered, because it is not you. It is your shadow. It is going through all of that. Swami said, in reality, this body is a shadow, and the true you are the self within. Whatever happens to this body should not matter. Like Buddha said, I didn't care that those villagers were abusing me, because I am not this body. I myself am abusing this body. If these villagers are abusing this body, I am very happy. They are helping me realize that I am not this body, but I am the indweller. But Swami said, very difficult, isn't it? To first realize that you are this body and use it well itself is such a big deal. Then to realize that you are not this body, you are something else, even more difficult. So how do you do that? See, so complicated. We thought transformation is going to be a great journey. We'll sit and enjoy all experiences that Swami has to share and laugh. That what a great chance we had to be with God. No, that is one part of it. The second part is that after him having invested his breath and time in giving us 5,000 discourses over 70 years of public life, how much of it have we been able to internalize? And these are only in the public domain. Swami had given over 15,000 personal interviews. I have done research on all of this and covered part of it in Divine Love. And so many more discourses which are not even captured. After him having invested his breath in communicating so much, how much of it can we take and practice, how much of it in our lifetime? That itself is a great deal. So, Swami used to say, you at least realize that the shadow and the body distinction and continue to do your duty. Over a period of time, when you stick to the path of Dharma, you will automatically be able to realize between the object and the shadow. So this is the hour of transformation, from truth to righteousness. And then we move to the A, which is adoration, bhakti. Bhakti we always think is very easy. You love God, you come to bhajans, that is bhakti. Swami used to say, no, that is not bhakti. Swami always used to give the analogy that when this light is lit, if Satya is the container and Dharma is the wick, Bhakti is the oil. When these three get together, the flame of Jnana is lit. This is the combination that is required, as we were chanting yesterday at the end of the Aarti, that after the flame is extinguished, nothing should be left. How do we ensure first that this flame is lit, and then when it is extinguished and we wind up this journey, that nothing is left? These three are required in equal proportion. Swami always used to give the example of what prema is. Swami used to say prema is the basis. When directed towards the world, it is raga, attachment. When directed towards God, it becomes bhakti. Bhakti again has two categories. One is samanya bhakti and one is parabhakti. Samanya bhakti is what we do in our daily life. We sit in the altar, we offer flowers, we offer incense stick, we do our namasmarana, we do all our regular rituals. That is samanya bhakti. Parabhakti is when we suffuse ourselves with love in every activity that we do. That is parabhakti. And that has 9 forms. And I will quickly run through them. And Swami had told these so many times, but had given an example of a great figure from the scriptures who embodies that aspect of bhakti. We always complain, there's this comparison in the Semitic religions and the Indian religions of idol worship. And it is important when Swami says that the message is one, that all religions are one. The entire objective of this diversity in the Indian religions is to communicate this unity. And hence all these scriptural examples are meant to communicate the unity which is divinity. So what are the different forms of bhakti and how can we practice? And Swami used to give the example used to say so many times, but I myself had not made an effort to understand this over a long period of time. He started with Shravanam, listening. But what kind of listening? When King Parikshit was given the curse that in 7 days he will die, he spent that entire 7 days period to sit and listen to the Bhagavatam and understand the glory of God. And on the 7th day, when he was about to die, he had already attained the ultimate. That is the power of Shravanam, or devotion through listening God's glory. That within 7 days you are able to attain the highest. The next is Kirtanam, singing the Lord of glory. One way of singing is, as we think, bhajans. But that is anyway happening if you just put on a CD or a cassette player of the earlier times. Just singing is not enough. Singing with as much devotion and feelings that the person who is listening gets engrossed and gets totally involved in what you are saying or singing is real kirtanam. And Swami used to give the example of the sage Shuka, who for those 7 days narrated the Bhagavatam in such an extraordinary fashion that the mere act of narrating the Bhagavatam conferred liberation on both Shuka and Parikshita. And then the third example Swami gives is of Vishnu Smaranam, thinking of God. And Swami gives the example of Prahalada. Not ordinary thinking of God, just turning the beads, where the beads are turning but our attention is elsewhere. Like the typical story of the mother-in-law, Swami used to say, she's sitting in the altar every morning, and again very Indian examples, because in the US there are no mother-in-laws overlooking the work of the daughter-in-law. So Swami used to give the famous example of the mother-in-law sitting in the altar and turning the beads, and every few minutes she will say, "Oh, daughter-in-law, look, if the washerman has come to return the clothes." Again 2 minutes later she will shout out, "Oh, look, if that fellow has ironed the clothes and come." Oh, again after 2 minutes, "Oh, has the servant arrived to finish all the washing of last night?" Swami said, you have an appointment with God in the altar. You are turning the beads with His name, but your mind is turning on all the to-do list that you have prepared in your mind. Is this the kind of smaranam that is required? Smaranam should be such that you should be totally engrossed in that. Whether Prahlada was kept in the middle of snakes or thrown from the mountaintop, he was only extolling and thinking about the glory of Vishnu. That is true smaranam. That is the form of bhakti, through smaranam. Then pada sevanam, worshipping the feet. We always considered ourselves very lucky that we used to get opportunities to press Swami's feet. Every disciple considers it as a great opportunity to press the feet of the Guru. But is that true pada sevanam? Swami used to say, no. The real pada sevanam is when you consider that the service to the Lord in the form of pressing the feet or making Him comfortable or as ensuring His physical well-being is the only existential purpose. Then that is true pada sevanam. And Swami used to give the example of Goddess Lakshmi, whose only job is to ensure that Lord Vishnu is in most comfortable way of living. Archanam, the fourth aspect. Offering. You buy flowers and you offer them. You buy fruits and you offer them. You bring out water from the tap and you offer it. All of this is very easy, because we don't have to make any efforts. You give a few dollars, you get all of this. What is true Archanam, Swami said? True Archanam is when you consider that this entire creation is the form of God, and every activity that you are doing is an offering to God. And Swami had given the example of Prithu, the great king, after which this earth is called Prithvi, because his whole objective was this whole earth is a form of God, and whatever activities I am doing are an offering to Him. That is true Archanam. Then Vandanam. We think that going to the temple and offering ourselves at the idol is salutations, is vandanam, is offering our salutations. Swami said, no. True vandanam is when you dedicate all your indriyas, the 10 senses, 5 jnanendriyas, the 5 senses of perception, and 5 karmendriyas, the 5 senses of action, as an offering to God and His work. That is true vandanam. Swami had given the example of Akrura. from the life of Krishna, who was a minister in his court. First a minister with Kamsa and then eventually a minister with Krishna. And he had realized the divinity of Krishna and then fully surrendered himself to the will of Krishna. Then comes Dasyam, servitude. And the best example of Dasyam is Hanuman. You see the mace on his shoulder and that mountain on his hand. The most beautiful statue which Swami established in the Hillview Stadium on 65th birthday. And if you observe one symbolism, the statue of Hanuman is higher than statue of even all other gods and prophets kept there. What is the symbolism of that? Swami said the symbolism of that is that the servant of God in his service and that action and that emotion and that inspiration is much higher than God himself, because God is setting an example. This is the way to lead an ideal life. And how did Hanuman always introduce himself? He used to say, Dasoham Kausalendrasya, I am the servant of God, I am the servant of Rama. Swami always used to joke, when devotees come to Prashantinilayam, they put vibhuti. When they are getting up in the morning, having bath, sitting in the altar, they put vibhuti. The moment they go to office, they remove the vibhuti and go. Because people should not ask them questions about what this vibhuti symbolizes. Swami said, is this your form of devotion and servitude? Talking about vibhuti, I am reminded of a very nice example. I was in Vrindavan in one of the vacations and I was serving in the stores. And there we have this opportunity to sell vibhuti packets, keychains and all those things to devotees. So one auntie came there and she asked me for 2 vibhuti packets. I gave it to her. And then she asked me how much. I said 4 rupees, auntie, 2 packets, 2 rupees. Then she was looking here and there. I said, what happened, auntie? She said, no, I'm looking at the expiry date of this vibhuti. So for a second I was really shaken, because these are Sai devotees. So then I said, auntie, this vibhuti has no expiry date. This vibhuti is symbolic of our expiry date. So that is the kind of ritualistic affiliation we have to the vibhuti also, that we sing whose glory at the end. What is the meaning of vibhuti? Vibhuti means ash. And what is the symbolism of ash? The symbolism of ash is that ultimately all of us are going to become that, the final stage to which all perishable aspect of creation reaches. We are all going to be that ash. Having that ash, applying that ash here at the crest jewel of our existence on the forehead, is a reminder to us that finally I am going to become this. Then why not I undertake every activity that I am doing in alignment with the dharmic path, so that there are no regrets at the end of our life. That is the importance of vibhuti, not the expiry date of it. So dasyam, then sakhyam, friendship. Swami used to give, what is the true friendship with God? Good or bad, you are dependent on God alone. There is no other except you. What is the example of that? Arjuna, Swami used to say. In good times, Krishna, 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 Krishna. In bad times, Krishna, 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 Krishna. There is nobody else that he wants. Even if he is going to get 7 lakh soldiers of the Kaurava army, he doesn't want them. He wants that one Krishna who is not even going to take up a weapon. He said, I will not take up a single weapon. He said, you are good if you don't take weapon. Because I want you, I don't want your weapons. That is the true friendship with God. Come what may. Our friendship with God is limited to good times. In fact, not even otherwise. It is limited to bad times. Maybe I look at it as good times, but many people, most of it is other way around. When bad times come, either you say, oh God, please help me, or you say, oh God, such days upon me, what is the use of investing all my good time in you? God's relationship is not an investment. God's relationship is not a shareholder's investment. Swami always used to say, people think that relationship with God is like a shareholding investment. You invest money and at the time of fruition you will get dividends. Swami said it is not like that. Good or bad, you have to stick to Him. because whatever is happening is good for you, and that's why it is happening to you. You may not perceive it there at that point in time. And the example for that is a march past procession. When there is a huge march past procession during a Republic Day parade, as in India, or even here, I'm not sure how they celebrate, the person standing on the first floor of a tall building is able to see only this contingent. The person standing on the fifth floor is able to see two contingents before and two contingents after. But the person on the in the highest floor, the terrace of that skyscraper, can see that entire parade from the beginning to the end, and hence knows why it is moving fast or moving slow, what is going to happen and what is coming. We are like the people on the first floor. We know only things here. So we think why this is happening or why this is not happening. The sages and saints who have evolved are on the fifth floor. So they can tell us a little bit more before and after. But God is on the highest floor. He knows exactly from the time the contingent began, your journey began to the place where it is going to head. So in this entire contingent journey that you are going through, what is good for you and what is bad for you is known to Him. And hence all the things that happen are for our own good. And that's why that Sakhyam or friendship should be such that in good times or bad, we stick to it. That is most important. Last stage is the stage of Atmanivedanam. You offer yourself. Once you have decided that I want God, whatever happens, I want only Him, nothing else. And Swami used to give the example of King Bali. And we know the story of Vamana Avatar. As to how, when King Bali was doing the Vishwajit Yaga, if he would have performed the 100 sacrifices or the yajnas, he would have become inconquerable. And hence, it was desirable that he doesn't finish that, because the people who were on his kingdom were not the very righteous people. So Vamana took the form of, Lord Vishnu took the form of Vamana. These are all so symbolic and insightful, and that's why I'm sharing. He comes down, comes to the court of Bali, and a small statured avatar, Vamana, he said, I want only 3 things. So he said, yes, whatever you want, I will give you. He said, I want 3 footsteps of land. So Bali said, you are so small, what will you do with 3 footsteps of land? I will give you whatever you want. He said, you first give me these 3 footsteps. He said, okay, I'll give. He said, not like that, you promise me. So he said, okay. He took water in his hand and promised, like so many of us have promised so many things to Swami. Swami, if you do this, I will not do this all my life. Or if you help me with this, I will do this all my life. Like that he promised. His Guru Shukracharya warned him that you don't promise. This is not Vamana, this is Vishnu who has come in this form to disturb your progression. He said, come what may, he has come and he has asked me and he has promised I will give. And we know what happened after that. He took the huge cosmic form. In one leg he covered the skies, in the other he covered the earth. So symbolic. And the third was left. Where should he put his foot? So Bali said, you please put your foot on me and finish your 3 vows, because I have surrendered myself to you. He didn't say, oh, you took off everything from me, now what more you want? He said, no, you take myself also. That is Atmanivedanam. This is the real bhakti that Swami wants from us. These 9 forms, anyone. We don't have to do all 9. Now tomorrow someone will start with Shravanam, then say, okay, today Shravanam, tomorrow Kirtanam. Not like that. That is like that farmer who went around his field digging inside for 5 feet, thinking, okay, I'll dig 5-10 feet, I'll get water. Oh, no water here, I'll go dig there 5-10 feet. And he kept on digging. 10 days later, his whole field was full of potholes, holes of 10 feet each. Then someone came and said, what have you done to your field? He said, no, I'm digging for water. He said, oh fool, don't dig for 10 feet at 10 places. Dig 100 feet at one places and you will get perennial source of water. That is what Swami expects from us. The depths at which we can go with our devotion. Hold on, let us hold on to one thing and then keep on going deeper and deeper and deeper into that. And we have achieved the highest. What is the simplest form of devotion that we can manifest it in? Is empathy, concern. And Swami had narrated this wonderful story. There was this great scriptural preacher who was talking about the Gita, and it went on for a 7-day period. We have these 7-day Gita discourses. And there was this man sitting at the end. After the whole story was over, he went to this preacher and said, I did not understand much of what you said, but I have only one question. Krishna narrated 700 verses to Arjuna, isn't it? That preacher said yes. He said, Krishna was sitting in the front of the chariot and Arjuna was sitting behind. He said yes. He said, all through the 700 verses, Krishna would have had to look at him and talk, isn't it? He said yes. He said, I feel so bad. Krishna's neck would have hurt so much that for 700 verses, he had to look at Arjuna and talk. This preacher was so overwhelmed that here is a man who has not understood the Gita, but he has so much of love for God that he was worried that Krishna's neck must have hurt so much that for 700 verses he had to turn behind and look at Arjuna. How simple can bhakti be? How simple can its practice be? That empathy in our action is so extraordinary that the simplest of things makes life so much more meaningful. From adoration we move to next N. The name. Nama Smarana. Nama Smarana is so important because Swami used to say that the world is presided by God and God is under the spell of His name. Anybody who calls out to Him at the right time, He will respond. And that's why we have so many stories of all the asuras also calling out to God and God responding, because that is the power of His name. That even if the demons used to call Him, He used to respond. On 24th of April 2001, 10 years before that fateful day, Swami was in Trai Vrindavan and he was talking to students and he was narrating this story. The story between Vishnu and Narada. And he said, once Narada and Vishnu were talking about the importance of chanting God's name. So Narada asked that question to Vishnu. So Vishnu said, okay, you do one thing and you will know the value of His name. He said, see that crow you see there? He said, yes. Go and tell my name in his ears. So Narada went there and told Lord Vishnu's name in his ears, Narayana, he said, and that crow instantly died. So Narada panicked and came back. He said, Lord, I went and told your name to that crow. Instead of responding, he died. So Vishnu said, okay, no, now you go, there is a parrot there. You go and tell my name in its ears. So he goes and tells Lord Vishnu's name in that parrot's ears. That parrot also dies. So Narada is saying, what is this? Your name is so dreadful. People are listening to it and dying. He said, no, now you go. There is one calf which is born instantly just recently in that kingdom. Go and tell my name in its ears. So Narada goes and tells the name of Lord Vishnu in that calf's ears. And that calf also dies. So Narada panics. Gau Hatya is the biggest sin in the scriptures. Killing the cow. I have killed a young calf by telling your name, O Lord. There is no emancipation for me. He said, no. Now you go to that same kingdom. A prince is born there. Go and tell my name in its ears. Narada panics. Prince, and if that prince dies, that king will not let me come back to Vaikundam. I will be in the jail of that kingdom. I am not going. He said, don't you trust me? Go and tell my name in its ears. Small child. These are all symbolic stories. And then when it goes and tells the name in the ears of that prince, the prince says, oh Narada, I was a crow. When you came and told Narayana's name in my ears, I died, and just by the power of that name, I became a parrot. The same parrot you came and told my name, God's name in my ears, I was born a calf. And when you told the God's name in my ears when I was a calf, you see the power of its name. I have now become a prince. Then Vishnu told Narada, if just listening to my name can be so powerful that a crow evolves to become a human being in such super fast speed, what is the power of chanting my name? It is said that in the Krita Yuga, Dhyanam or meditation was the most important way to attain self-realization. In Dwapara, It was yajna. That's why you have read Rama performing so many yajnas in his lifetime, because he came in Treta Yuga. In Dwapara, it was archana, offerings. And so we see so many offerings given in Krishna's lifetime. But in Kali Yuga, it is Namasmarana. If we want to attain the highest, the way to attain the highest is by Namasmarana. Swami went one step further and said, not Namasmarana, only Smarana, only think. Smarane Tarano Payamo. You just think my name and my form, and that is enough. In fact, once a student had asked Swami in the interview room, Swami, how can we make you happy? Swami said, you just do 3 things and you will be happy. You will make me happy. He said, first, you have come into this educational institution to pursue your studies and you are getting free education. So it is your duty to do well and get good marks. So study well. That's the first requirement. Second, you are staying in the hostel and there are a lot of opportunities to do service activities in the hostel. Ensure that you participate in them and do well. They are called self-reliance departments in our technical parlance in the hostels. Give your best services to the community in which you are serving, because you are getting everything from them. And third, after finishing your duty, which is education, and finishing your service, which is your contribution to the community, in your free time, just think of me. If you do these 3 things with all your heart, I will be very happy. So that is the power of Namasmarana. In our journey towards transformation, constant Namasmarana and Smarana is the most important. And that's why Swami always used to give the example of Mirabai. She used to sing, Rama Ratana Dhana Payo. I have got the gem of the name of Rama. Why is it so important? And she says in the next verse, Kharchay na khoote, chora na loote. How much ever I spend this name of Rama, it never gets over. And chora na loote, no thief can ever steal it. And dina dina badhata savayo, every day it is increasing 1.25%. Now, which investment increases 1.25% every day? Now, the best of the Wall Street analysts will not give you that kind of a return. But the name of Rama, if you chant, or of your favorite form of God, every day 1.25% increase in investment. That is the power of chanting God's name in the journey. Next is S. S stands for 2 things, sacrifice and surrender. Tyaga and Prapatti. I'm giving the English and the Sanskrit to it, so that if you wish to refer to it in more detail, please go back and do so. In the Sannyasa Suktam of the Mahanarayana Upanishad, and this verse Swami always used to quote, Na karmana na prajaya dhane na tyage naike amrutattva manashu. Neither by actions alone, nor by progeny, nor by wealth. If you want to attain immortality, it is only by sacrifice. Now, what do we sacrifice? There are 2 kinds of sacrifices, physical sacrifices and spiritual sacrifices. Physical sacrifice is simple living and high thinking. In hostel, we always used to joke. We used to convert simple living and high thinking into simply living and highly thinking. You say, oh, this fellow is simply living and highly thinking. No purpose in life and extraordinary words. That is not simple living and high thinking. And there is one very nice experience which I would like to share, which Srimati Geeta Ram shares often, but I like it a lot. And I had shared this even during the World Youth Conference in 2007. In 1965, in Swami's 40th birthday, all the children from the Bangalore Samiti wanted to gift Swami something. So they came up with this idea that we want to gift Swami a fan because it's so hot in Prasanthi Nilayam. So they saved money and then transported that fan from Bangalore to Prasanthi Nilayam. In those years, traveling from Bangalore to Prasanthi Nilayam was a 10-hour journey, longer than the time I took from Boston to here in flight. And Bangalore to Prasanthi Nilayam is just 125, 150 kilometers, about less than 100 miles. So they got the fan and then they were waiting outside Swami's dining room. to request him to accept that gift. So as soon as Swami finished dinner and came out, they said, Swami, we have got a gift for you. Will you accept? So Swami was delighted that these SSC children had got a gift for him. So he said, okay, come on, show me where it is. So they had kept it in the zinc shed, which is now where the Purnachandra auditorium is. So they all went there. That pedestal fan was covered in a white cloth. So when they went there, Swami saw that pedestal fan and he saw that pedestal fan wrapped in a cloth, and he said, oh, you've got a ghost for me. So then they removed the cloth and they said, no, Swami, it is not a ghost. So Swami said, oh, you've got a pedestal fan. How thoughtful. Then the next question, where did you get the money from? So the girl said, Swami, we got money for Gauri Puja during Dasra. In the Dasra celebrations, girls get money for doing worship to the mother goddess. Swami said, oh, so the girls paid. These useless boys didn't do anything. So they said, no, Swami, they helped us transport the fan from Bangalore to Prashantlim. Swami said, okay. After that, now how are you going to use it? Where are you going to put it? That discussion started. And next day was the birthday celebrations. So they decided that just behind Swami's chair, they will put the fan. And the moment Swami comes and sits, they will switch on the fan so that he gets all the breeze during the program. It was the hot zinc sheds of the 1965 year. So next day morning, everybody was very excited. They came, Swami sat. Swami came and he was about to sit. And this person behind was going to press on the switch. Before sitting on the chair, Swami went to the fan and turned the fan towards the devotees. And Swami said, now switch on the fan. Program was good, everything was over. These kids again stood outside Swami's room that evening. Said, Swami, you did not accept our gift, you did not use it. Swami said, no, I accepted it, I used it. Said, no, Swami, not like that, we wanted you to use it. He said, Bangaru, when all my devotees are sitting in this hot climate of Prashanti Nilayam, how can I enjoy a fan? I cannot enjoy a fan. But I want something, will you give it to me? They said, yes, Swami. He said, okay. So they thought now Swami is going to ask for something bigger, maybe a sofa, some chair. So they said, yes, Swami, we'll give whatever you want. Then Swami said these 4 verses, and they are so meaningful. Swami said, Sai ardhinchu meenundi sadgunamulu. All that Swami desires from you are your virtues. Sarva manava sahodara sakhya buddhi. I expect you to look at all mankind with a sense of fraternity and a sense of friendship. Swartha tyagambu parishuddha sangha seva. Give up selfishness and undertake selfless service activities. Sai ki chedi dhanamide satyamaganu. This is all the wealth that you can offer to Swami. Other than this, you cannot offer anything to me. And this is all that I want you to give me. This is an example of physical sacrifice. At another time, we know with the excitement with which we want to physically serve Swami. One Sevadal, so that's the World Youth Conference picture in 2007. That's exactly when I had narrated this in front of Swami in Prashanti Nilayam. So one Swami was sitting in the car, and we know the excitement with which we want to serve Swami. We thrust ourselves on him. So one Sevadal, even before Swami could sit properly, he shut the door. And Swami's small toe got stuck in the door. But Swami didn't say a word. The toe was stuck in the car and the car moved ahead. So the driver just took the car ahead. After he had moved out of the Nilayam on an open road, he said, just stop the car. So the driver stopped the car and Swami opened the door and pulled his foot inside. So the driver was shocked that for the last couple of minutes the toe was stuck inside the door and Swami didn't say a word. So he said, Swami, why didn't you say a word? At least we would have immediately stopped the car, or you should have told that Sevadal. He said, Bangaru, that Sevadal wanted to serve me with all his heart. He wanted that one opportunity to close my car's door. If he would have known that in his excitement he has injured my toe, for his entire lifetime he would have remained guilty. Then what is the use of being my devotee? This is physical sacrifice. The smallest of things, if someone makes mistakes, we go all out to tell, oh, you have done this mistake, you know what a fool you are. And here is Swami trying to help us ignore our mistakes, or rather overlook our mistakes, so that we can progress and continue our enthusiastic journey towards Him. So that is physical sacrifice. The smallest of things that Swami had was done by students, Swami used to be happy. One student wanted to contribute to the super specialty hospital in 1990, and this is a famous story. And for a whole month, he did not give his clothes to the dhobi, the washerman in the hostel. He washed his own clothes, saved that 100 rupees, and then wrote a letter to Swami and gave it to him in the mandir. That Swami, with this 100 rupees, even if a brick can be put in the super specialty hospital, I will be very happy. I will feel I have given my bit to the super specialty hospital. Swami was so happy when he read that letter. He went around reading that letter to everybody in the veranda and in the bhajan hall. That see, this 100 rupees is most valuable for me. Not because of the quantum of the money, because of the feeling with which this boy has washed his own clothes, sacrificed his comforts, and given me this money, so that the super specialty hospital can be built. That is what physical sacrifice is all about. Then we move to spiritual sacrifice. What is spiritual sacrifice? We always feel going to pilgrimages will give us a lot of punyam, a lot of merit. But the problem is that going to pilgrimages is not enough. We go to Tirupati and shave off our hair. And Swami always used to joke, do you think that Lord Venkateshwara needs your dirty hair? He has a lot of it on his own. Beautiful curly locks of hair on his head. The giving up of hair in Tirupati is symbolic of giving up your negative qualities at the feet of God and coming back pure. But we are so happy doing the symbolic shaving of the hair, and not interested in giving up a single vice and returning. In fact, we are not ready to sacrifice anything. There was this grandfather who was in the interview room, and he said, Swami, I want self-realization. So Swami said, yes, you come tomorrow morning, I will give you another interview, and I will reveal to you the path to self-realization. So this grandfather said, no, Swami, tomorrow morning is my grandson's Upanayam ceremony. We'll have this interview some other time. Can you imagine the kind of priorities that we have in our lives? The Upanayanam ceremony of the grandson is more important than the secrets to self-realization. That is the kind of sacrifices that we are indulging in. Swami used to say, what is true sacrifice? True sacrifice is giving up your own personal will. When Arjuna was totally dejected and he said, I am not going to fight this war, then Krishna told him that it is your duty to fight this war because this is the war of Dharma. Then Arjuna said, okay, karishye vachanam tava, I will do your bidding. Whatever you say, I will do. And Krishna said, okay, then I will guide you. And he became his charioteer and took on the name Parthasarathi, charioteer of Arjuna. And that symbolic message is given the prime position right inside the bhajan hall. And we all used to see Swami, but Swami used to keep on looking at the mural of Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield, because that is the purpose for which Swami had come. In this battlefield of this world, in all the intricate problems that we are constantly surrounded by as the arrows which are coming from the Kaurava side, God has taken up the role of being our charioteer and ensuring that mankind can progress and win this war and move on to the other side. That is true sacrifice, not having any own wish. Swami used to give the example, if you are pouring water from one vessel to the other, it has to be balanced. This should be coming down. In the same way, this water pot also should be able to hold it. If there is any movement on either side, it will fall down. Swami always used to say, I am willing to give you all my grace. Are you ready to receive it? If you are not ready to receive it, my grace is of no use. So first, make yourself ready. Peace of mind again. Get your mind, the receptacle ready, so that the divine grace can fall upon you, so that you can transform yourself. Otherwise, it is of no use. But once we decide to surrender to Him, then what is the level to which God is willing to help us? And Swami quotes a very nice example from the Ramayana. When Vibhishana gave up the side of Ravana and came to Rama's side, Sugriva warned him. He said, it is not desirable to trust the enemy's brother. If he comes into our camp and does something wrong, then what will happen? Rama said, don't forget, you also left your brother and came into my camp. If I can accept you because you surrendered to me, I can accept him also. Then Angada, Vali's son, asked him a question. He said, what if Ravana also comes and surrenders to you? So Rama said, yes, if Ravana comes and surrenders to me, I will accept Ravana also. And I will plead with Bharata to give up the kingdom of Ayodhya and make Ravana the king of Ayodhya as well. Because once I accept somebody who has surrendered to me, I will go to any extent to take care of his well-being. Yoga kshemam ahamyaham. As Krishna had told Arjuna in the Gita, I will take off your welfare and your farewell. Both. That is my responsibility. So now we move to the next one, F, faith, Shraddha. What is faith? Another very nice story. Swami has communicated so many important messages through the stories. I know, I'm not going to go through transformation today, Kreta. I'm going to do only half of it and half tomorrow. Because Kreta is looking at the watch every few minutes. When is this guy going to conclude and complete this entire theme? But I would not like to dig 10 wells of 10 feet each. I would like to dig a well of 100 feet and help all of ourselves, including myself, move on the path of transformation. So Shraddha, faith. What is faith? There was this preacher of the Gita, and he went to the king's court and he said, I want to give a talk on the Gita. That is my livelihood. That is my earning. So the king himself was a great student of the Gita himself, the Bhagavad Gita. So the king told his minister, tell that man that I am not interested in listening to him because he doesn't know the Gita well enough. He should come later. So this preacher of the Gita got very angry. He said, I offered to speak, to narrate the Gita in front of the king. I told him it is my livelihood. My children and wife are dependent on the Gita. And he has the audacity to tell me that I don't know the Gita. I have been given so many awards by the society for the last 25 years. With that anger, he went home and was fuming. And the wife was wondering what happened. The husband is, instead of coming back happy, he is coming back fuming. So she asked him what happened. So he said, I don't know anything, just go away from here. So Swami said, see, the wives know very well how to take care of the husbands. So when the husband was very angry and responded like this, the wife went to the kitchen, made upma for him, made hot coffee for him, came back, gave upma, gave hot coffee. The husband had all of that and his temper cooled down. Then the husband said, this is what happened. The king had the audacity to tell me I don't know the Gita. So slowly the wife said, actually I also agree with the king. You can imagine this man would have just blown his top off. But he controlled himself because he thought if he gets the reason, he can get angry even more. So she said, I agree with the king because you are preaching the Gita. And what is the message of the Gita? The message of the Gita is Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. That he will take care of your welfare all the time. Then why should you go around asking for opportunities to speak about the Gita for something in return? You should depend on God alone. If you truly have faith in the word of the Gita, you should not depend on anybody else but on the message of the Gita itself. Because that was supposed to be his profession of being a professional preacher of the Gita. Finally, this man realized, yes, you are right. I do not have faith in the scripture that I am preaching. I should not have faith on anybody else. I should have faith on God himself. The best of the opportunities will come to him. That is what true faith is. Once it comes, it should not go. Faith is not coming and going and coming and going. Today faith, tomorrow no faith. If I get one more miracle, my faith will get re-established. If I don't experience miracles, I think that was an aberration. Swami really is not divine. There are no more miracles happening and hence I have to go elsewhere now. Miracles are not faith re-emphasizing techniques. They are, again, as Kreta said, visiting cards. When do we give visiting cards to someone? When we meet the person for the first time, right? If we meet the person for the second time, if we give the visiting card again, they will think, oh, maybe he has forgotten that we have given him the visiting card the last time. If we meet the person for the third time and give him a visiting card again, that other person will think this man has lost his head. He's giving me visiting cards every time I meet him. I know who he is. I don't need his visiting card. Imagine what we are expecting from Swami. We are expecting him to give us his visiting card every single time. He is not going to do that. Faith is the seed which is sowed just once. And when the sapling starts developing, we have to nurture it with sunlight, with nutrition, with water. That is the discipline, the devotion, the determination. And when this faith fructifies and grows into a big tree, we have all the branches, the leaves, the flowers and the fruits. And these fruits will give us the sweetest of experiences that the purpose of faith, the investing our time in faith would have given us. That is the importance of faith which we need to give. Swami always used to say this, and I'd like to emphasize on that, and I'll just take a few more minutes, if that's fine, just to conclude F. And that is that the amount of time we give in order to take care of our family. Swami used to say, Ya chinta bhuvi putra mitra bharana vyapara sambhashane. How much time you give for your putra mitra bharana, your son, your friend, your spouse. Ya chinta bhuvi dhana dhanya yashasa labhe sada jayate. How much time you give for earning wealth, for food, for getting a good name. Sa chinta bhuvi nandanandana padadandaravindeksane. If you can give even an infinitesimal part of that time to think of the lotus feet of God, sa chinta bhuvi yamadwar, he used to say, Yamaraj bhima sadanadwar prayane prabho. The iron strong doors of the God of death will not be able to do anything to you if you are able to give few moments of your time in the memory of God. But this faith which comes and goes is a disease which we have to rectify. There was this student, and I will conclude with his story. There was this student who was studying in Prashanti Nilayam, and I'll continue tomorrow. Who was studying in Prashanti Nilayam, and he was in the third year of the undergraduate program. In the first year, Swami spoke to him. And he got some opportunities to give a letter to Swami, to talk to Swami and all of that. But in the second whole year, Swami never spoke to him. And by the time he was in the third year, he was wondering whether Swami even remembers him or knows of him. And one night he was really overwhelmed with this emotion that does Swami even know about my existence? And there were tears in his eyes whether Swami remembers him at all. You know, we go through that, right? So with that he slept, and the next day Swami gave his entire class a group interview. And in that, because the third year, so they were going to pass, they were going to graduate. So I was going to say they were going to pass out, the way we say in India. He passed out. He passed out of school, he passed out of college, he's passed out of a higher college, university. When I came here I used to say that, and people used to look at me and smile. I was wondering what happened. Then I realized in America, pass out means you fainted. Now I start using the word graduate. You see how language can be misleading. So they were the graduating batch. Swami usually used to give interviews. Swami gave interviews, spoke about different duties that students should fulfill, and about Swadharma and Paradharma and all of that. And all the queries that he had in his mind were solved. All the students were leaving the interview room one by one. And this boy was last. So he also bent down to take Swami's Pad Namaskar. And even before he get up, Swami held his nose. like this and lifted him up. And then Swami asked him, "What were you thinking last night?" Then before this boy could respond, Swami said, "Weren't you thinking that Swami has forgotten me, that Swami is not talking to me since 2 years, and I have so many queries in my mind? Aren't all your queries responded to now? Do you also know that I don't forget anyone? I always remember each one of you is in my thoughts at all the time." That's it. That boy did not ever have another opportunity to speak to Swami. But 15 years later, even while he is working in Citibank in London today, he still knows that while Swami may not be physically with him, Swami is remembering him, and Swami knows of him, his faith and his love for Swami. That is the power of faith, and that is the fulcrum of this journey of transformation that we have embarked on. So I will conclude with that for today, because I wish to continue from where I left yesterday and complete the entire journey of transformation. And can anybody tell me at what alphabet we had stopped yesterday? F. And what does F stand for? Okay, great. So now we go to the next alphabet, and that is O. And before I tell you what O stands for, I would like to share an experience of one of my students who was doing his MBA in Prasanthi Nilayam. He was following the Islamic faith, and as you know, there are 2 mosques in Prasanthi Nilayam, one of which has been built by Swami himself. So during the month of Ramzan, he had taken special permission from the warden of the hostel to go early in the morning and offer his prayers. And the warden very kindly gave him the permission. So he used to go there and do his morning prayers and then return to the hostel. And over a few days, he had this inner message or inner prompting from Swami, and the words which kept on ringing in his ears: "Be ready, be ready, be ready." So he was wondering what it meant, but then he was preparing himself, mentally alert and ready to respond to any situation or any question or any kind of a conversation. And then it so happened, and this he has narrated to me firsthand while he was a student, of course, this was almost 10 years ago. One of those days in the month of Ramzan, early morning, when he again went to offer his prayers at the mosque, there was this group of Muslims who had come from a part of North India, and they were traveling by Andhra Pradesh, and hence they found that Puttaparthi there is a mosque. So they had come there that morning to offer their prayers. And there they saw this person, the student, also coming and offering his prayers. And this set of people who had come into the mosque didn't know anything about Swami. So they asked him after the prayers were over that, "Do you study here?" He said, "Yes." Then they asked him, "How is it that you who practice the Muslim faith are studying in a place which is Kufristan?" Kufristan is a place where they follow idolatry, worshipping idols and multiplicity of gods, whereas Islam preaches unity of gods. There is only one God, that is Allah, and that's the fundamental premise of Islam. So aren't you going against your religion? And this boy paused for a second, and now he knew why Swami was telling him to be ready, because he was then ready to give the answer to this very pertinent question which these people asked him. And he said with a lot of humility to these people that, "Thank you so much for asking me this question, but in my understanding, the Islamic faith preaches that there is only one God and He is omnipresent. And if there is any place in my life where I have seen the practice of this fundamental principle that there is only one God and He is omnipresent, that is in Prasanthi Nilayam. Because in Prasanthi Nilayam, each and every denizen of this ashram and this educational institution practices with firm faith the unity of the divine principle and His omnipresence, His omnipotence and His omniscience. The duality and multiplicity of gods in the Sanatana Dharma, or as it is called Hinduism, is only symbolic. The Parabrahman or the non-dual principle is the same as the Allah as worshipped in the Islamic faith. So there is no difference between those two religions. And I have learnt that in my brief stay at Prashanthi Nilayam. Though being a Muslim, I have been able to become a better Muslim and learn the fundamental principles of my religion and practice them well. Now this is what, yes please, this is what Swami's message, the O stands for oneness. Ekatvam. The very essence of all world religions is the same. Swami had given the comparison in so many discourses as to how Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma, Islam and Christianity talk about the very same principles, and he highlighted them through 3 examples. He said in Christianity, Jesus first said, I am the messenger of God. As he progressed in his spiritual path, he later on said, I am the Son of God. And finally, when he realized the ultimate truth, he said, I and my Father are one. What do these 3 stages stand for? When you are a messenger of God, God is separate, you are separate, you are communicating his message. The next stage is, I am the Son of God. There is a connection which is established. I have come from my Father. A son is born through the Father. And hence, I am the Son of God. So I have a similarity, I have a sense of connection and identity. And yet I am different, because Father and Son are 2 separate identities. And finally, he says, I and my Father are one. Similarly, in the Islamic faith or the Persian faith, there is this analogy which is said often, that I am in the light. The next stage of evolution is the light is in me. And finally, the ultimate realization, I and the light are one. Swami said this is the same message of the Sanatana Dharma. The Dvaita principle, the dualistic principle propounded by Madhvacharya is that I am the messenger of God. I and God are separate. I am the servant of God. The principle of Vishishtadvaita, as propounded by Ramanujacharya, talks about the same principle, that the Jiva and the Brahman are connected in principle but are separate in identity till the Jiva merges in the Brahman. And the Advaita principle, which was propounded by Adi Shankaracharya, is this fundamental principle that Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. That there is no difference between the individual and the supreme divinity. It is verily the supreme divinity dancing, playing, working and enacting this cosmic drama through each one of us. So this is the oneness, the fundamental principle of identity of all world religions is the same. The languages and the philosophies through which they are propounded are different. Recently, the Central Investigation Agency of the United States of America declassified documents which were compiled 20 years ago. Every 20 years they declassify documents because they are no longer classified. They've lost their sense of relevance and recency, and hence you can make them public. And it was reported, and they are not 1 or 2, there are thousands and thousands of files. So it was reported in the Indian newspapers as headlines a couple of months ago that one of the key documents that were declassified was a 30-page note that the CIA had written about Swami, his message and his mission, especially for the President of the then United States of America. The then President of the United States of America. And that 30-page document compiled all that Swami stood for, his message, his mission, the way the institutions are financed, the way his message is Christ-like. You must read the document. It is available in the public domain. And they concluded as a message to the President of America, and this is not what I am saying, this is there in the report, it was headlines in all Indian newspapers, that the mission and the movement started by Sathya Sai Baba has the power to become another world religion because it brings together the very essence and message of all world religions. That is the power of the message that Swami has put forth in his lifetime. Then the other aspect of oneness, so one is oneness of religions. The other aspect is oneness of all of us. And I mentioned that right in the beginning. In the Purusha Suktam, and Swami used to emphasize on this very often. He used to repeat this again and again. Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha, Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. That the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Being, has many eyes, thousands of eyes and thousands of hands and thousands of legs and thousands of heads. What is the symbolism behind this? It is not that God is the way it is depicted in pictures, that he has 1,000 heads and 1,000 hands and it appears like some alien individual. Swami said there is a symbolism in this. At the time when this was composed, the population was in thousands. Today the population is in crores. So the Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha will become Koti Shirsha Purushaha. What is the meaning of that? The meaning of that is that each one of us is an aspect of that Supreme Divinity. And that Supreme Divinity works through each one of us. And each one of us are symbolic of different aspects of that Divinity's personality. And that's why in that same Purusha Suktam, and that's why when we chant Vedam, if we read the translation, we'll benefit many-fold more. It is given that how the Brahmins symbolize the head of that Supreme Purusha. The Kshatriyas symbolize the arms and the shoulders of that Supreme Purusha. The Vaishyas symbolize the thighs of that Supreme Purusha. And the Shudras symbolize the feet of the Supreme Purusha. What does this mean? This means that the entire balance in society is created by divinity, and each profession has a symbolism connected with what the Supreme Divinity stands for. So the Brahmins use their intellect. The Kshatriyas or the warriors use their shoulders and arms. The Vaishyas are the very foundation of the economic and financial system. So they symbolize the thighs, because the thighs are the ones which give strength to the individual. Otherwise you are on the wheelchair. And the Shudras are the ones who perform the fundamental duties of keeping the society in action. All these four castes, which are today decried as a barred or an outdated caste system, are actually a very well-organized socio-economic system as propounded in the Vedas. It is only misinterpreted by vested interests. When certain part of the caste system became dominant, the whole synergy was diluted. So this oneness talks about that we are all aspects of the same divinity. And we'll remember this very famous story where Shirdi Baba tells one of his devotees that I will come to your house for food today. And that devotee says, please come Baba, we are waiting for you since so many years. And he prepares all the variety of food items in his house and waits all that day before allowing anybody else to eat, that Baba will come today, Baba will come today, Baba will come today. In the middle of the day, he finds one dog who has sneaked into the kitchen and is almost going to grab a piece of the food that has been prepared and kept there. This man takes a stick and beats that dog black and blue. And this dog, who is salivating at the joy of having that food, runs away with those injuries on his body. This man waits all day till the evening and returns back to his home, returns back to Baba's home, that is the Dwarka Mai Masjid, and asks Baba, we were waiting for you all through the day. You promised that you came, but you did not come. What happened? This is not fair. So Baba said, yes, of course I came. He said, no, I was standing at the gate of my house all through the day. You were not seen anywhere. Then Baba said, of course I came. Not only did I come, instead of serving me food, you beat me black and blue. And he lifted a part of his robe and showed his feet, where there were signs of that rod which had hit Baba's feet. So he said, Baba, how can I ever hit you? It is impossible. Please explain to me what you mean. Then Shirdi Baba said, do you remember that dog who had come to your house to have food? He said, yes. And what did you do to that dog? You hit it black and blue. Do you think I am not in that dog? I am present even in that dog. God is present even in the dog. So serve everybody with the feeling that you are serving me. Akashat patitam toyam yata gacchati sagaram sarva jiva namaskaram keshavam prati gacchati. Just like every drop of rain that falls from the skies ultimately goes back to the oceans, every salutation that you do to every being in this creation goes to the same divinity. There is none else than him. And there are so many instances in Swami's life which prove that. And one famous incident, which again I would like to refer to Srimati Geeta Ram's talk, because she was first-hand witness to that. There was this lady who came into the interview room as a group interview, and Mrs. Ram was also there. And there she kept on pestering Swami, Swami, you must come to our center. This is almost 35 years ago. You must come to our center. We do wonderful Narayan Seva. Swami said, yes, I will come. And then he used to change the topic, talk about something else. And this lady kept pestering Swami. Then finally, Swami got a little upset and he said, yes, I have come to your place for Narayan Seva. She said, no, Swami, not like that. Physically you should come. First of all, you should not counter question Swami, because when he's saying something, we need to introspect what he means by that. And here he's saying that I have come, and you said, no, Swami, not like that. Then Swami said, I will show you when I came to your house what you did to me. And Swami went inside and got a red cloth, something in the red cloth. He got that, came outside, and then he said, you say you do Narayans in your house, Narayan Seva in your center, in your Samiti. What kind of Narayan Seva you do? She said, Swami, different people do different kind of Narayan Seva. So this lady, so Swami said, that is fine. What kind of Narayan Seva do you do? So this lady kept quiet, evading the question. Swami said, 4 rupees per kilo rice for the family and 2 rupees per kilo rice for Narayan Seva, isn't it? So there was absolute silence in the interview room. Again, that lady said, no, Swami. Then Swami got that red cloth piece and he opened that. He said, I had come to your house as a beggar and asked you for food, that Amma, I am hungry, please give me food. And you gave me this cloth full of rice which had so many stones in it. Is this the kind of seva that I expect from you in my name? I am present in every individual that you are serving. If you are going to serve this kind of food in the name of seva, which has not the best interests of the person receiving that food, then you are doing more harm than help. Because if this person gets sick with the food that you give him, does he have the wherewithal to go to the hospital and get himself treated? You are doing more disservice than service. This is not seva. Seva is done when you identify yourself and the person receiving it with the same love that you identify yourself and me. That is true seva. That is the true oneness which the journey of transformation expects. Oneness. The next alphabet is R. We spoke about the first R, which is righteousness, which is the very principle of Dharma. And this second R is right actions. How that righteousness gets converted into the right kind of actions. And Swami had said once in one of the discourses to students in 1989, he said there are 4 things that you should do in your way of living. And if you do that, you are living the dharmic life. What are those 4 things, Swami said? The first is Maitri, friendship. You should have the right kind of friendship. You should have friendships who resonate with your value systems. You should have friendship with people who are of your stature. Because if you have friendship with people who are of a higher stature than you, then you will be forced to oblige them because they are of a higher stature. If you have friendship with people who are lower stature than you, then you will expect them to behave the way you want them to because they are not as well off as you. See how typically our mind works and how subtly these things is what we do in our daily life. And then Swami said, you must have friendship with people who resonate with you, and you should fulfill that friendship in the best way possible. Equality of relationship. And I remember an incident here. There was one occasion where there was prasadam distribution in Purnachandra auditorium and also clothes distribution. So while all that was happening in the Purnachandra auditorium, Swami said, give me a bag of clothes. So Swami took that plastic bag with the clothes and the sari inside and some prasadam packets, and he was getting down the steps and walking towards Purnachandra auditorium. So Professor Anil Kumar was there with Swami. So he said, Swami, why don't you give it to me? I will go and give. Why are you taking the trouble to walk to the end of the hall and giving this? Swami said, no, I want to give. He went all the way to the last block of the Purnachandra auditorium, and there was an old man. He was sitting there. Swami called him, hey Satyanarayana, Ikadra, come here. Satyanarayana, come here. And then he gave it to him. And then he told Professor Anil Kumar, do you know who this is? He said, no, Swami. He said, this is my schoolmate Satyanarayana. We studied in school together. We used to sit together in the same class. See, his name is also Satyanarayana. My name was also Satyanarayana. And then he asked Professor Anil Kumar, does not friendship demand that I go and give this prasadam to him with my own hand? How would it be if I would have sent it at your hands? This is true friendship. The next aspect, the next is karuna, compassion. For those who are lesser fortunate than us, we are expected to be compassionate towards them. Like Jean showed such a brilliant set of videos, especially the one in Kuala Lumpur, was so moving that we realize the ephemeral, transient nature of this world, that what are we hankering for? When there is so much of sorrow in the world which we can alleviate, are we at least aware of the good fortune that has befallen us and all the opportunities that we are already having? We may be in the 0.0001% of this 7 billion population who has everything at our beck and call, and yet we are always complaining and grumbling that we don't have X, Y, and Z. So karuna involves compassion towards the lesser beings that we see around us and how our heart goes out to them to help them. Another example of Swami's karuna and compassion, it was in Kodaikanal. And you know, every time Swami has Narayan Seva in Kodaikanal, so we all serve prasadam to the people of Kodaikanal who come there. And that particular year, after the Narayan Seva was over, Swami got into the car and took a couple of students with him and went somewhere. So we thought that Swami has gone for giving darshan around Kodaikanal. Swami used to do that many times, take a 1 hour darshan and went and go around Kodaikanal and come back. So we were all waiting for Swami to come, and then when he came back, he was extremely delighted. So we thought he gave nice darshan to a lot of people, and hence Swami was happy. So then Swami came back, sat on his chair, and the students who were around him, he said, do you know why I am so happy? So the student said, yes, Swami, you gave darshan to so many devotees who couldn't make it. Swami said, no. I am not happy for that alone. You know where did I go? I went to all the far-flung places in Kodaikanal where all these poor people, old people, handicapped people, those who are begging around, who don't have their wherewithal stay. I had taken all the blankets, the extra blankets that were not distributed during the Narayan Seva today, and these students on my instruction went and gave those blankets to those people who were in far-flung areas of the corners of Kodaikanal, because they are the ones who really need this. Because they are the ones who do not have even the capacity to come to Kodaikanal Sai Shruti Mandir, have my darshan and benefit from this prasadam. That is why I am so happy. This is the karuna. Yesterday I was talking to the YAs and I mentioned this very point. Service is incomplete without the beneficiary or the recipient of your service. So this person who is receiving need not be grateful. We have to be grateful because we are having someone to receive what we want to give. Because if not for them, where we would have had an opportunity to alleviate our sense of being incomplete, our guilt, our sense of being not able to do anything for the larger world. It is not the giver, it's not the receiver. It is Swami who is working through both of them. And the giver is more blessed than the receiver because he has had an opportunity to give. And as many opportunities you have to give, Swami used to always say, always have your hand to give, to give, to give. If you give, you will never have to ask. If you keep asking, you will have to give back someday. So always keep giving. Swami used to give this famous example. When a maid servant is working in the house, she does everything. And she informs at the end of the day, I am leaving, madam. I did this. At the month of the day, at the end of the month, she wants her salary. Typically, even here in US, it's like that. For those who come for household assistance, that's the way they work. They do it, they tell you they have done it, and they ask for remuneration or returns. But the lady of the house, the homemaker, not housewife, homemaker. So many aunties yesterday said, I asked, what are you doing? I'm a housewife. I said, you're not a housewife. You're a homemaker, and that's a 24/7 full-time job, which I think all of us men should realize, that being a homemaker is not a 8-hour job 5 days a week. It's a 24/7 job, 365 days a week. So, the lady of the house never asks or tells the husband or the children, I did this, I did that. She does it for her satisfaction, because that is what makes her duty and her sense of fulfillment complete. Swami said, in your association with God, don't be a servant telling him, I did this for you, I did this for you, now you give me this, I prayed, so give me this, I did sadhana, so fulfill this desire. Swami said, don't be a servant with God. Be his homemaker and do your job as if you are working for him as his family member, and not as a servant who is working 8 hours a day expecting remuneration in exchange. I think that should be our relationship with God. That is Maitri, that is Karuna. Third part is Mudita. Mudita means we should not be jealous or envious of those who are better off than us. We need to appreciate. If someone is healthier than us, be happy. If someone is wealthier than us, be happy. If someone is more affluent than us, be happy. Because that is also God's gift to them. They are also benefiting from God's grace. Why should we have a sense of comparison with anybody who is doing better than us? That is the third aspect of right actions. Mudita. We should be able to appreciate whenever we see good in others. And in Jainism, that is called Anumodana. You are appreciating what you cannot do or what you have not got in others, because you feel that it is such a nice virtue or such a nice blessing that God has given us. And there are tons of instances where Swami used to be so appreciative. In Swami's case, Mudita does not apply. But he was so appreciative of every small action. And I gave the example yesterday of that boy giving 100 rupees for a single brick of the super speciality hospital. And Swami was all over the place praising him. The fourth part of right actions is Upeksha. Apeksha means wanting, coming close to. Upeksha means not wanting, distancing. We should have upeksha or distance ourselves from bad company. Those people who do not resonate with your value systems, please keep yourself away with them. You do not need to denigrate anyone. Everybody has divinity in them, but you do not have the capacity to see the divinity in them. Hence, such point in time, please ensure that you run away from bad company. ABC, avoid bad company. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa always used to say that yes, there is divinity in everybody. There is divinity even in the tiger. But you don't need to go and hug the tiger and say, yes, I can see the divine in you, because the tiger cannot see the divine in you. And that will be the end of your existence. So you need to first raise yourself to such great souls who are at peace in the presence of the wildlife. And we have heard of so many saints and sages. And Swami used to talk about them who used to go in the middle of the forest and meditate and were not bothered by the kind of wildlife that was around them. And wildlife used to be tamed when they used to come in front of them and sit there in silent meditation, because of the power of their presence. Ramana Maharishi's life is an example as to how, sitting in the midst of the Arunachala mountain, he used to be one with the entire wildlife. There's an example from the Swaminarayan faith of how Swaminarayan, when he was a small child, he used to be absolutely in oneness with the entire wildlife. That is required before we are able to move to that stage. So be away from bad company till such point in time that you raise yourself to that divine equanimity. So these are the four things: Maitri, Karuna, Mudita and Upeksha. Swami said if you are able to practice these four, you will definitely achieve your objectives in life. The next one, M, meditation. There's a very nice story around this. There was a very clever villager. He wanted to get appreciation from everybody that is a great sadhaka, a great devotee. So what he used to do, he used to go to the temple and sit in meditation for a long time. After the temple timing is over, after everybody leaves, he will continue to sit there. And the pujari in the temple got so irritated with him that he had to wait till this man finishes his meditation, and which was long past his official hours of duty. You see, pujaris also work for a salary, right? So this pujari got irritated, the priest, and he said, I must do something that this man, and he knew this man is one person who is pretending to be a great devotee. Because a real devotee is very empathetic. I gave you the example yesterday of Krishna's neck pain, right? So this priest said, let me do one nice thing for this man and we'll know his devotion. So one fine day when there was nobody in the temple and there was only this man pretending to meditate, that pujari went behind the idol and in a deep sonorous voice he said, "Oh my child, I am so pleased with your devotion and meditation. I have decided to bless you. Come, merge into me." Even before he completed that sentence, this meditating man got up, took his meditation mat, and ran away from the temple, never to be seen again. Because he had no desire for merging into God. He had only desire to be seen as a great devotee of God. And this is the Chinnakatha Swami had narrated. Swami said, this is the kind of meditation we practice. We want to meditate because we want others to know that we are meditating. And I gave the example of that mother-in-law yesterday, of how that meditation or that Namasmarana takes breaks every 2 minutes. Swami used to give another example, that when we are meditating, even before a couple of minutes are over, we start hearing the sounds of all insects that are flying in the environment around us. And especially a mosquito is the one which irritates us most. And Swami used to very often give the example of the mosquito disturbance in meditation. Swami used to say, first you will want to avoid it. Then while meditating, you will get so irritated that you will start hitting yourself as to where the mosquito is trying to bite you. Swami said, is this the kind of meditation you are doing? If you are truly doing meditation, you should be able to see the divinity even in the mosquito. Because even that mosquito is an aspect of creation. And you are trying to identify your oneness with creation. Then why should you have any kind of distinction with the mosquito? True meditation is one where you identify yourself with all creation. All other techniques of meditation are meant to help you achieve this objective. That's why in the 1990 summer course, and I would urge you to read that set of discourses, or in fact listen to them, and they are all available online on Radio Sai and even the Sathya Sai Books and Publications Trust website. Swami had said once, meditation. What do you mean by meditation? People close their eyes and sit and think that they are doing meditation. Swami said, no, that is not meditation. The first step in meditation is shut your mouth. And the second and the only step in meditation is open your heart. This is the two-step meditation I recommend to all Sai devotees, Swami said. If you really want to do your meditation, first shut your mouth. And second, open your heart. If you are able to shut your mouth, this and this both, this is the external and this is the internal chattering which happens, and open your heart, open yourself to the creation of divine creation around you. That's the highest form of meditation you can do. Swami has given a lot of examples and techniques of how to do meditation. There is an entire book that Swami has written called Dhyana Vahini. So it is not that Swami does not talk about the techniques to meditation. There is this blog that I had initiated when I was in Swami's hostel called Sathya Sai with Students. You may want to visit it, Sathya Sai with Students.blogspot.com. In the last 4.5 years, it has had nearly 2.3 million visits from all over the world. We have about 1,200 articles which capture Swami's messages to students, conversations with students, experiences of students, and much more. I have included there many such messages and discourses from Swami which talk about techniques of meditation that he gave for devotees. But this is something very, very fundamental, that meditation, if we would want to do, and if we want to really transform ourselves through the path of meditation, it should be this path where we are able to identify that at the end of the meditation, everything is divine. If after a half an hour meditation session, we get up and then go into the kitchen and start fighting with our sister-in-law or our kids or our daughter-in-law, then the whole purpose of meditation is lost. And likewise, I'm not only talking about the women, I'm talking about the men as well. You meditate for half an hour and then you come back to the wife and then settle all the scores of the last week in verbal duels. That is an incomplete journey, as Swami says. The next aspect, we've finished transform and we now move to Asian. How do we move to Asian? Swami always used to say, Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat, jnanat dhyanam vishishyate, dhyanat karma phalatyagam, tyagat shantyarantaram. Most important among all of these in jnanam and dhyanam is abhyasam, action, practice. There is this very often frequent question which is asked. One of our teachers had asked to Swami in one of the interviews, Swami, you tell us all these things. This is so very difficult. How do we practice in our daily lives? We are surrounded by so many complications. How do you think we can practice these exalted principles of spirituality? So Swami said, okay, tell me, when you were a kid, how long did it take you to learn to walk? I said, Swami, about 1.5 years. Swami said, yes. Did you learn it instantly? He said, no, Swami. First you crawled, then you held on to things and then walked. Then you started taking baby steps on your own and your mummy was moving behind and she was saying, come, come, slowly increasing your span of walking. You took 18 months to learn what is so commonplace today that you can just get up from the middle of the night to go to the restroom. You don't need to tell yourself, okay, now I have to walk to go to the restroom and come back. It is your second nature. But it took you 18 months of practice to learn walking, which is your second nature today. If a simple action like walking requires 18 months of practice, if a simple degree like bachelor's in arts or science or commerce or engineering requires 15 years of 17 years of education, you are aspiring for the highest degree, which is God's grace, which is spiritual fulfillment. How much more effort you need to put to attain that highest degree of God's grace and spiritual fulfillment. But the good news is that you have already begun the journey. You need to practice. Practice every single day. Then Swami said, see, everything. When Swami was talking Trai Vrindavan, he said, ఈ విశ్వములో అన్ని ప్రాక్టీసే, like Swami used to say in Telugu, everything is practice. Reading practice, writing practice, talking practice, walking practice. Swami literally doing this. Walking practice, singing practice, dancing practice. Everything is practice. Similarly, spiritual progress also comes with consistent practice of the spiritual principles of life. There is no shortcut. Just as to get the sweet sugar that we put in our coffee and tea and food has to come from the sugar cane which is grown in the fields, crushed, dried, heated, consolidated and converted into those crystals which we put in our food. Or the example I gave of the iron ore or the gold ore to the gold jewels, or the example of metal from fine instruments in our hands in our daily life, is through so much of practice. Diamond, it is found as absolutely raw stage in the womb of the earth, and it goes through so much of cutting and polishing and pressure and improvement to become that shining jewel which is adorning the best of the positions. Swami said our life needs to be full of practice if we want to go ahead. But it has to go through a process. And Swami gave the example of making ghee. How do we make ghee? In the Indian tradition, if you want to make ghee, you have to curdle the milk, extract butter out of it, and then when you heat the butter for long hours, the distilled essence which is formed is ghee. But while heating this butter, if there is water content still left in the butter and that heating process will emit foul smell. That foul smell will subside the moment the water content is over, and then the fragrance of ghee will begin. Swami said, in the same way, you are the butter which has come to the top after these lifetimes. You have been curdled and brought into this human form. But this water of evil tendencies is still present in you. Through the process of sadhana, you have to help these evil tendencies to evaporate. When you are doing this sadhana and these evil tendencies are evaporating, there will be foul smell of the vasanas around you. But once all of this water is fully evaporated, there will be the spiritual fragrance of Ananda emanating from you. That is the process of sadhana that each one of us have to go through. But we have to go through that process. Like one man came to Shirdi Baba and said, "Is there God?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Then why cannot I see it?" Then Shirdi Baba, "Why cannot I see God?" Then Shirdi Baba told him, "Is there butter and ghee in milk?" He said, "Yes." "Can you see it?" He said, "No." He said, "When can you see it?" "When you curdle and do this entire process, you get butter and ghee." Then Shirdi Baba said, "Yes. Similarly, you will be able to see God when you work towards the path of the Atma Tattva." He said, "Agar दूध में घी होता है और कभी मिलता है, दूध बिलोने से," he said in Hindi, "दूध बिलोने से वैसे ही ईश्वर मिलता है आत्मा को टटोलने से." When you are able to shake up yourself and identify that you are verily the Atma, you will realize that there is God and He is verily inside you. This is the process of action that we need to undertake. And that God does not exist in some parts of our temples. Just as fire exists in every aspect of the wood, it manifests only when two wood pieces are brushed against each other very rigorously. And that's how a yajna is started. Yajna is not started now as it is done. You take a matchstick and light. It is actually started with two wood pieces rigorously rubbed against each other, and the fire inherent in the wood comes out, and that marks the beginning of the yajna. Similarly, God is present in every aspect of this creation. Only the one who makes unbroken efforts of rubbing himself against the efforts towards realizing God will you be able to see Him manifest before you. That is a very, very fundamental principle. But for this, practice is very important. However, our practices are one-sided. Practice in action, not in mind. Practice in mind, not in action. Practice in word, but not in thought and deed. And this is the next alphabet, T. We don't need to have single action. We need to have a triple action. Triple action and triple purity. Swami was telling students once in Trai Vrindavan, the exams were just over. And Swami said, "Your exams are over?" "Yes, Swami." "Results are going to come?" "Yes, Swami." Then he asked, "What subjects are you studying in science?" Then the student said, "Swami, physics, chemistry and biosciences." Swami said, "Okay. If you get 90 out of 100 in physics, 70 out of 100 in chemistry, and 20 out of 100 in biosciences, will you pass or fail?" Fail. Why? One subject you have not passed. You need to pass in all subjects in order to clear examination, right? So the students were telling the same thing. "Swami, you need to pass in all 3 subjects to clear the examination." As if Swami doesn't know. He's the chancellor of the university. But he is pretending there to ask simple questions. In reality, he is making us realize what he actually wants to communicate to us. Then Swami said, "Okay, similarly, you get 90 out of 100 in actions. You are great in whatever you are doing. Very good public speaker, great in service, great in singing, great in dancing. 90 out of 100. You are 60 out of 100 in words. You speak very well. You sing very well. You communicate very well. You speak politely to people." But Swami said, in thoughts, 20 out of 100. Do you pass in God's examination? No. Swami said, just like you need to pass in the physics, chemistry and biosciences to get your BS degree, You need to pass with high marks in thought, word and deed to get the degree of spirituality from Swami. This, Swami said, is Trikarna Shuddhi, TKS. The essence of success in spirituality is need for unity and purity of thought, word and deed. That is the highest abhyasa which we need to do. Otherwise, we will be doing all forms of sadhana, but we will not be progressing ahead because we are doing it in bits and pieces. We are not integrating our efforts with thought, word and deed. That's why Swami always used to say thought, word and deed, thought, word and deed, thought, word and deed. So if we want to progress in the path of transformation, this T of Trikarna Shuddhi is very important. There's a very famous story Swami used to narrate, of these deer in the forest. They all got together. And these are all stories you can share with the SSC children. They all got together in the forest. They had a deer conference, and some 200 deers got together. And they said, "We have such strong antelopes. Why should we get scared of the dogs? If we hit them with our antelopes, they will get disemboweled. We are so swift with our movement. We can jump over obstacles and small bushes and all of that. If we kick them, they will fall down. That is the power which the deer have. Why should we get afraid of these wild dogs when they come close to us?" So all of them agreed, yes, you are right, President. You are right. We will all follow you because you have told the truth. Why should we be afraid of the dogs? So a resolution was passed in the deer conference that we, the deer community of this forest, decide that henceforth we will not get afraid of the dogs. The resolution was passed, and it was a few moments, and somewhere in the distance, one wild dog barked. And the entire deer conference was dispersed. All of them vanished from this place to all the directions in the forest. Swami said, "See, is this Trikarna Shuddhi? We are making all these claims that all these negativities will not affect us. We will not be perturbed an inch whenever any attraction or negative influence comes before us. But the moment there is any such kind of indication, every resolution is put inside the storeroom and we are back to our original ways." Trikarna Shuddhi requires consistent awareness. This is what is constant integrated awareness. Swami used to say, CIA is actually nothing but TKS. CIA equal to TKS, not Central Intelligence Agency. Constant integrated awareness is equal to Trikarna Shuddhi. The next aspect of transformation is the letter I. What is this I? And I'll come to that. There is this common doubt in the minds of the young adults, even the adults, that the world tells us that performance matters. You give your best all the time. Key result areas, KRAs, is what companies judge their employees against. If you go to management organizations, these are my key RAs. And your promotion, performance, salary, bonus, everything will be dependent on the key RAs. I put in my best efforts, I don't succeed. Why is Swami doing this to me? But the spiritual world does not go by performance orientation, result orientation. The spiritual world goes by action orientation. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna had always said, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. We always mouth these words. What do they mean? They mean that you have right over only action, not on the fruit of the result. This also we mouth. We have right over action, not over fruit of results. And the next minute, but Swami, you are not listening to me. What is the meaning of that? Why do we have only right over action and not over the fruit of the result? The second part of that is because God judges us only on the actions that we do, not on the outcomes of those actions, because the outcomes of those actions are in His hands. What He gives us is His will. What we do is in our hands. He will only see whether you have given your best. Swami always used to say, have you given your best? Are you happy with your performance? If you are happy, then I am happy. Forget the result. Are you happy with your performance? God always looks at our actions and our performance, but the intention behind that action is equally important. Not just the action, the eye of intention, bhavam, is important. Swami always used to say, I am not bahya priya, I am bhava priya. I do not get carried away by all these dramatics of these students before me. They will come and pretend to be very devoted. The devotees will come and pretend to be very devoted. I know many times these dramas are happening in front of me of being absolutely devoted. I don't want any of this external devotion. I want your internal transformation. That bhava with which you do everything for myself, that is very important. And why? And Swami had once given a very nice example. Swami said, if you have an envelope which is very, very beautiful and you send it in post to some other part of the world, will it go without a stamp? No. If you have a very dirty envelope, but it has a stamp, will it go to the other part of the world? Yes. So what is important? Stamp is important. The beauty and the cleanliness of the envelope is secondary. Of course, you need the to and from address, as I mentioned in the beginning yesterday. This stamp is your intention. If you have the stamp of intention and prayer on your envelope to God, the feelings are the stamp and the envelope is the prayer. If the feelings are affixed on the prayer to God, it will reach God. But if the prayer is very decorative, in mellifluous Sanskrit and Carnatic music or Hindustani classical, but if it does not have intention and bhavam of genuine love, that prayer will not reach God. So intention is very, very important. There is a story of this cobbler who was sitting, who in fact was not a devotee. This was in Sundaram many decades ago. Sundaram and Swami's mandir in Chennai. He was sitting somewhere behind. Someone told him, Sathya Sai Baba has come. He's a great spiritual leader. You must have his darshan. So he was sitting behind and he thought, I'm going to a spiritual leader, religious leader, I should take one flower at least as an offering. It is always said in the Indian culture, you should not go to saints, sages, spiritual personalities or temples or even to someone's house empty-handed. You should take something with you. That's your culture. So he took a flower and was sitting in the last row. And Swami came giving darshan to him at the end and took that rose from him. And he said, what do you want? So the cobbler was absolutely new. He never thought that this film-like personality of Swami, as he was often described in many magazines, and Swami has once said in Man of Miracles, when Kaka Dikshit's son came to see him first in the 1960s, Pandurang Dikshit, he came to see Swami because he heard that he is Shirdi Baba's reincarnation, and he was sitting in the audience and Swami was up there giving a discourse. In his mind he said, he says he is a reincarnation of Shirdi Baba, but he looks like a film star. And 2 minutes later in his discourse, Swami said, some people who have come here for the first time think that with my hair and my silken robes, I look like a film star. But in the previous avatar, I was in rags. He said, they forget that I said in the previous avatar that my devotees in that avatar could only afford that much of simplicity. So I lived the way they kept them. In this avatar, my devotees can afford this and they force me to accept it. Hence, I am living like this. So that cobbler came, and so that cobbler blurted out, Swami, please come to my home. When Swami asked him, what do you want? So Swami said, okay, very good, I will come. He blessed him and he walked away. This cobbler left, and then after some time when he left, he asked to himself, Arey, Swami told that what do I want? I blurted out that you come to my home, but I have not given him the address of my home. How is he going to find my home? Then he said, these great spiritual leaders always talk nice things with people. It's just a pleasant conversation. I'm lucky I could give him a rose. Very happy. He went back to his job. A week later, he was sitting outside his home where his cobbler's shop was, and all of a sudden one big Mercedes car came and stood before him. And even before he could raise his head, he saw Swami getting down from the car and coming towards his home. He literally panicked, went to his house, tried to put together whatever he had. He got some fruits from outside, put some nice place for Swami to sit. And he said, Swami, please have this, please have that. He could not, you can imagine a cobbler who has never seen Swami coming into his small colony and sitting in his house. He said, Swami, what can I offer? He said, no, I have not come to accept anything. With a pure intention and heart, you said, Swami, please come to my house. I have only come to bless you because of your genuine prayer. I don't want anything, Bangaru. What do you want? You tell me. I will do that. And then he asked Swami to bless his wife and children. He blessed all of them and Swami left. So that is the power of intention. And how is this intention judged? And Swami used to give another very nice example. Swami said, if you want to go to any country, you need two things. Passport, visa. How much ever great person you are, millionaire, billionaire, if you don't have a passport and you stand in the line to leave the country and you say, I want to go out, they said, where is the passport? Then he said, I don't have passport, but I'm a billionaire. He said, I don't care what you are. If you don't have a passport, you can't get out of this country. You just now get out of this airport. What is this passport? This passport is your permission to leave that place, to be able to go to the next place. And you may have your passport and you may go to the next place. Unless you have a permission from that place that this person is eligible to enter this land, you will not be able to enter. What is that permission? Visa, which is the hot topic of discussion in the Congress today. Visa, immigration, right? This is a hot topic of discussion even in the other world. Who is going to get immigration to come to this land, which is much beyond the lands that we all have seen? What is that passport and visa to go to the land? Swami said, the passport to go to that land is your sadhana. And the visa is God's grace and acceptance of your devotion and sadhana. You may think you are a great devotee and you have done great sadhana. I have to give my stamp of visa that yes, he is eligible to come back to me from where he has started his journey. Otherwise, you may continue to imagine that you are a great devotee, but that is not acceptable in my books of accounts. So that is required in order to progress towards Swami in our journey of transformation. Second last alphabet, O. What is this O? Offering. What do we need to offer? After doing all this, after getting all this, after becoming so realized in our journey, we need to offer something to God, right? Samarpan. What do we offer? There was this boy who was sitting in his examination hall and he did a very fine deal with Swami. He said, God, if I clear in this paper, in India we have written exams, right? Unlike many US universities where there is not much emphasis on final examinations in written papers. He said, God, if I clear this examination, I will make Chakra Pongal for you and serve in the altar. So, deal done. Then he started writing the answer paper. After some time he realized that the question paper is very easy. So he said, okay, why Chakra Pongal? I'll only offer some sugar. Enough. Why God needs Chakra Pongal? After all, he doesn't eat all this. As he was finishing his examination, he said, not Chakra Pongal, not sugar. I will offer some nice water to God. Because he said, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Bhagavad Gita says, only water is enough. I'll take water from the kitchen and then go and put it in the altar. So he started preparing a cost sheet. First he prepared a cost sheet for Chakra Pongal. Then he said, no, this much amount of money saving. He had prepared an entire cost sheet of the expenses he will have to incur to fulfill this deal with God. At the end of the day, he gave the paper, came back home, and then his dad asked him, how was your exam? He said, it was very good. He said, show me your paper. When he opened his bag and brought his paper out, he realized, he shouted when he saw that paper. He said, God has cheated me, he has deceived me. So his father was worried. What happened? He said, no, I had done a deal with God that I will give him Chakra Pongal if I do well in the examination. Finally, I said I will give him only water. And now because I was decided to give him only water, he has cheated me. He said, why? What happened? He said, no, I got the question and answer paper here and I gave the cost sheet of making Chakra Pongal to the teacher in the classroom. Swami said, see, this is what happens when your offering to God are superfluous. You are so busy calculating the value of your offering to God that entire feeling of that offering gets diluted. These are all Swami's stories. And he is the only great intellectual of this world who has no copyright on his message. No IPR, no TM, nothing. Take it, use it, share it, benefit from it, perpetuate it. Absolutely no copyrights. That is the problem with these Chakrapongal deals with God. Our offering, and that's why I come back to the Gita, he said, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. What does God want from us? Patram is leaf, Pushpam is flower, Phalam is fruit, Toyam is water. Very easy. Pluck the tree, flower and leaf from the tree, fruit from the tree, and water from the kitchen tap, and offer it to God. So easy. Swami said, very easy. But what efforts have you made in that? Sometimes you don't even make the effort of pulling out these flowers, trees, leaves and fruits from the tree. You go and buy it from the market. You can't do that here. You can't go to any tree and pluck the flowers. There will be copyrights even on the fruits in some places. Swami said, that is not what God wants. He has only created these. Swami said, what is Patram? Patram is leaf. You have to offer your leaf of this body to God. This body is for you, O God. But the problem is, instead of offering a fresh plate of food to Swami, we offer used, eaten, jhutha plate to Swami. In action, we offer the fresh plate to Swami, but in our lives, we offer the used plate to Swami. How? Because this plate of food, with all the 10 senses and all the beauty and energy and capacities that God has given us, we utilize it for all the trivial purposes. And after all of this is utilized and drained and the faculties are not working and everything in life is over, you say, oh, I'm retired now. God, you are my only solace. My journey to you begins now. My spouse may have passed away. My children are staying away. Anyadha sharanam nasti, none except you. So my journey will begin. Is that the kind of offering Swami said you want to make to God? You have to make your offering to God when you are in the best age and stage of your life. When your senses are at its best, your energy levels are at its highest, your capacities and skill sets are at its maximum. That is when you can say, God, I am available for you. Please use me for your work and for your mission. That is why I have got all this from you. That is the offering of Patram. Then Pushpam, Hridaya Pushpam, you have to offer your heart to God, your feelings to God. That's why Swami always used to say, heart is not a musical chair. So symbolic. When I was sitting there in discourses, I always used to see, why Swami keeps saying that thing again and again and again. In fact, Professor Anil Kumar once asked Swami, Swami, you keep repeating. He said once in Kodaikanal, it is given in the book Sathya Upanishad, which is a conversation with Swami. I said, Swami, please don't mind if I ask you a question. He said, no, please ask. He said, Swami, many times you keep repeating the same points. You've already told that in the previous discourses. Why do you do that? Swami said, yes. Now let me ask you a question. You have the same coffee 3 times a day, the same idli, sambar, vada, chutney, dosa 2 times a week, sometimes every day in the morning. Don't you get bored? Swami said, just as that is food for the body which has to be given every single day for the body to be nourished, this is food for your mind and soul. You have to nourish your body with the idli, dosa and chutney. You have to nourish your mind with the message which I am giving you again and again and again. That is the need for Swami to inform us that the feelings have to be from the heart. Mano phalam, the mind. You offer your mind to God. What is the meaning of offering the mind to God? You can't. Where is the mind? The mind is not a single identity. The mind is only a bundle of thoughts. When you immediately start separating these thoughts, there is no mind. Swami always used to give the example of that kerchief. Right? Swami used to always do this, and I have seen Swami do this at least a dozen times. He used to take the kerchief. Swami said, no, what is this? Kerchief. Then Swami said, Kadu. No, it is thread. Then Swami said, no, it is not thread. It is cotton. Correct? So, kerchief is made of threads, and threads is made of cotton. Similarly, the mind is made of thoughts. And the thoughts are based on desires. If you want to open this kerchief, what will you do? Remove each thread. And then when you integrate it back, it becomes into some form of cotton. The kerchief will definitely not exist. Individual threads will exist. Slowly those also disintegrate. Swami said, if you want to dissolve the mind, first remove these thoughts separately, one by one, one by one. And that will help in the removal of desires. When there are no desires, there are no thoughts. When there are no thoughts, no mind. So this offering of mind to God is disintegrating this bundle of desires and thoughts and offering it to Swami. And the last in this is Toyam, water. Water is not the tap water. Water is the tears of joy that flow from your eyes when you're extremely happy, when you're filled with devotion, when you're filled with love for Swami. That is the water that you ask and give to God. Pray for that fulfillment and offer it back to Him. Ananda Bhashpam, Swami used to say. This is very, very important. But the problem is, how do we do all this in our daily life? We have so many commitments, so many responsibilities. How do we live this life integrating these two? And Swami has given a very simple example. Swami used to say, whatever you do in life, do it as an offering to God. If you are a banker, be the best banker. If you are a homemaker, be the best homemaker. If you are a teacher, be the best teacher. If you are a Hollywood filmmaker, be the best Hollywood filmmaker. And offer it to God, because that becomes your heartfelt, skill-filled, action-oriented, total offering to Swami. Swami said, if the housewife is cooking food in the house, the homemaker, and says that, Swami, this is for you, then even though her family will eat it, it is actually Swami in them who is consuming, because she is feeding the family as if she is feeding Swami. She is not feeding her husband and children, she is feeding Swami in them. Swami always used to give the example of this seed in the ground. If you sow a rice with the husk in the ground, it will germinate, right? That's why the paddy has the husk along with it. You throw the paddy and the rice crop will grow. But if you remove the husk from it, the rice will not germinate. If you just put the rice grains in the ground, they will not germinate, because the husk is the one which helps it to generate. What is this husk? Swami said, this husk are your desires. If you remove your desires, there is not going to be any coming back. And what is the first step in that? The first step is in offering everything that you do to Swami. I am not doing for myself. I am doing it for Swami. But again with Trikarna Shuddhi, not hypocritically. Because that is a prerequisite to doing everything as an offering to God. Otherwise, our thing becomes incomplete. We often separate our secular life and spiritual life. One of our teachers wanted to do that. His name is Bhagya Sir. He teaches statistics in Swami's business school. And I have narrated this many times, but this is an example which changed my orientation to spirituality. He was a great engineer. He was working in the Gulf countries. He left that, came to Swami's business school to teach and think that he can do his spiritual practices because he's in the ashram. So he one fine day decided that, Swami, I don't want to teach here because I want to do spiritual practice. Teaching statistics to students is not giving me an opportunity to do my sadhana. So I am going to resign. He thought to himself in his heart. He gave his resignation letter to the principal. And then that was the end of the month of May. The summer showers were just completed. And Swami was back in Prashantinilayam. He was giving the introductory interviews to the faculty. So one particular day, Swami called all the faculty. And this professor was not willing to come. Then our principal, Professor Rao, said, but Swami has not yet accepted your resignation. We have not even forwarded it to him because he was not even here. So you are eligible. Please come for the interview. So he said, okay, I will come. And Swami was speaking to the faculty. What is happening? How are you doing? What are you teaching? And all of that. Then slowly Swami moved to the topic of spirituality and sadhana. And then slowly Swami moved and looked at Bhagya Sir. What Bhagya? I heard that you want to leave the university. He said, yes, Swami. He said, why do you want to leave the university? He said, Swami, because I am not getting time to do spirituality and sadhana, practice spirituality and do sadhana. He said, what will you gain by doing that? He said, Swami, if I do sadhana and spirituality, I will attain supreme fulfillment and self-realization. Then Swami face became very serious. He looked at him and he said, Bhagya, if you separate secular life and spiritual life, then for 10,000 births also I will not give you what you want. He was a statistics professor, immediately calculated. Minimum life expectancy 70 years, 10,000 births, 700,000 years self-realization delayed. Immediately he caught hold of Swami's feet. Swami, please don't do that. Then Swami's face again turned into one of compassion. He said, see Bhagya, do not separate secular life and spiritual life. Spiritualize your daily life. That is my message, and teach this message to the students. The students are here to learn from me, and through you I give that message to them, while I'll also do that directly. Where else you will find this environment where there are people who want to give the highest message, where there are people who want to receive that highest message? In this synergy lies the emancipation of both these categories of people. You stay here and do this, and I will give you your ultimate fulfillment. This is the kind of offering and spirituality Swami wants us to practice. Then there will be punarjanmana vidyate. If we remove this husk of our external desires and do everything that we do for God, then there is no coming back. And what happens with that? We get N, the last alphabet. And there is no English equivalent to that. That N is nirvana, also called as moksha. This word nirvana has equivalent words in 18 languages. If you look up the Wikipedia, it will tell you. In each of the South Asian and Southeast Asian countries, the word nirvana exists, but with its own modifications. And there is no equivalent to it in English. Because the whole philosophy is very, very Eastern. But it is similar to what the Western religions talk about, because ultimately the basis is same. And what is this nirvana? Swami give a very nice example. And now when I narrate these examples, the best way to learn is to share and teach, as they say. You become a better teacher when you talk about your concepts to others. I have been able to appreciate Swami's message because I have been able to repeatedly getting an opportunity to share it with the devotees. Swami used to give this example. We have heard this example of Gajendra Moksha. We had one staunch Vaishnavite yesterday here, right? She said she went to the church and did Vishnu Sahasranama. So in the Bhagavatam, there is a story of Gajendra Moksha. What is the Gajendra Moksha story? There is this elephant who is wandering in the forest. He is extremely powerful, mighty and egoistic, that there is none but me who can be the great leader of this forest. And he goes around, moving around with that attitude. Finally, he feels thirsty. He sees water. He gets into it. And he gets into that water, and as he's drinking that water and he's about to finish his task and move out, one crocodile gets hold of his feet and keeps pulling it into the lake. The crocodile wants to pull the elephant into the lake. The elephant wants to pull himself out of the lake. There is this fighting which the scriptures say goes on for thousands of years. You can imagine, no? We all teach kids, and then the kids say, Mom, how can the elephant fight with the crocodile for 1,000 years when the life expectancy of the elephant is just 100 years? Right? That's what the little kids will ask, right? There is so much of symbolism behind it. What is this crocodile and what is this elephant? And what is the next and the last part of the story? Finally, the elephant is not able to manage. So all of a sudden, the elephant realizes there is a God somewhere. And he looks up, he puts his trunk up there. And there, his trumpeting is heard by Lord Vishnu himself. And he sits on the Garuda and comes down and releases his Sudarshana Chakra. And that cuts the crocodile into two pieces, and the elephant is able to come out. Such a wonderful story. This is painted on our Prashantinilayam campus auditorium also. This is called Gajendra Moksham episode of the Bhagavatam. What is the symbolism behind it? And Swami has given symbolisms which in my reading I have not found in any other place. Unfortunately, we only talk about Swami's miracles. We make no effort to understand his message because his miracles are so enamoring that we are always engrossed in that. I always emphasize this in my talks because that has been my journey as well. Miracles are like primary school. We have to move from the primary school to the secondary school of his message of the Bhagavad Gita. Swami had told, Gita Ram had asked Swami once, and I quote her often because she was among the very popular speakers when I was growing up as a Y, so I would have heard to dozens of her talks. She asked Swami, Swami, my name is Gita, it is so popular. In my class there are 5 other Gitas. Why did you give me such a common name? Swami said, Gita is the very essence of the purpose for which Sai has incarnated, to communicate the message of the Gita. So, understanding the message of the Gita or the spiritual message is the secondary school. Then you have to come to the university and read the Upanishads, which tell that there is no difference between the individual and divine. That is when you get the university degree through that Upanishadic understanding. Finally, if you want PhD, Swami always used to say, I will give you PhD degree, highest degree, doctor. Swami used to always tease. What is that PhD degree? You have to write the bhashyams on the Brahma Sutras, which say that God is verily the essence, the sutra, the thread which is putting this entire creation together. Brahma Sutra means that God is the unseen thread which weaves this entire creation together. All these beautiful flowers of creation that we see are tied together by the divine thread of God Himself. That is the progression we need to make. So the message is very, very important, which is still higher secondary school. So what is the message of this Gajendra Moksha? What is this elephant? This elephant is the mind, which perpetuates birth after birth, birth after birth. The body dies, the mind doesn't die. The mind continues, it comes into another form. That is the Sukshma Sharira. And the Karana Sharira is the one where the karmas are stored. So these are the ones, so the Sthula Sharira passes away. But this mind, which is the Sukshma Sharira, and the Karana Sharira where your karmas are stored, they take up another Sthula Sharira. They continue. This is given in such extraordinary detail in the Mandukya Upanishad. Your Sukshma Sharira is your mind. This continues. And what does this mind do? It takes birth after birth, and keeps wandering in the forest thinking that it has all the capacity. What is this forest? This world is the forest with all the multiplicity, and the mind is like, I am the boss around here. Then it develops the desires and the thirst for satisfying itself. That is the thirst, the lake. That lake is the lake of your sensual desires. And the mind tries to enter it every time it takes a body. And when it gets into it, what happens? The crocodile of these negative tendencies again drags the elephant into the pond of this world, which the mind gets into every time. What does the mind at that time do after realizing so many lifetimes that in my own effort I am not able to do? It looks up to God and says, oh God, there is nobody else except you who can help me out from this pitiable situation. That is when God responds to your prayer and He releases the Sudarshana Chakra. What is Sudarshana Chakra? Swami said that is not the discus of Lord Vishnu, which is thrown, which is released at the crocodile. Sudarshana, divine vision, His divine grace, His divine looks falls upon this individual soul, and that individual soul is then redeemed of this journey to come back again and again. That is true Gajendra Moksha. That is when we get Nirvana. Swami had given it in a simple definition. What is moksha? Nowhere else again I have read this definition. Swami said, Mohakshayam is moksham. The way you gradually dissolve your desires, automatically you get moksha. Swami always used to say, God plus desires equal to man. Man minus desires equal to God. This is the mathematics of Swami, which is so easy than all the logarithms and all the other complex calculus that is taught in the world today. This arithmetic of divinity is the fundamentals that we need to teach our children. But the problem is, and as I conclude, one story and then the final point from Swami. There was this lady, she went to the neighbor's house and she said, you know, my son is getting married. So that lady, the neighbor said, oh, very happy, congratulations. We are going to have a grand marriage celebration. He said, very good. We have got the best musicians in town. You are getting the best caterer. We are getting the best set of stuff which is required for celebrating this marriage in a grand way. She said, very happy. Who is the bride? So this lady said, yes, that is only not yet finalized. The bride is not yet finalized, but we have made all the arrangements. Swami said, in your life today, everything else is done. Qualifications, positions, promotions, power, wife, children, gadgets. As our drama showed yesterday, the Malibu mansion in California and the Lamborghini car, everything is there. But the bride of self-realization is not yet identified. That objective of life which we have to work towards, which is our Sahadharmini, our companion in this journey to the other world, is still not identified. That is the prerequisite. And to identify that, this journey of transformation is required. And what is this journey of transformation? How do you achieve transformation? What is the true process of transformation? What do we have to do to be transformed? We've understood transformation. What is actually transformation? Very simple. Swami used to say, Chittasya Shuddhaye Karmaha. What is transformation? He used to compare that to the washing of the cloth by a dhobi, by a washerman. Dhobi is a very common profession in India, because here there are no dhobis, washing machines are there. Now in India also number of washermen are going down because washing machines are going up. But the principle remains the same. What does a washerman do? The washerman doesn't make your white clothes white. He only removes the dirt and all the other whatever colors or whatever that has come upon it, washes it clean and gives it back. Your cloth is originally white. It does not have to be made white. Only all the dirt and negative stuff on top of the cloth has to be washed off. Swami said, similarly, your chitta, which is our subconscious mind or the reflective mind, has accumulated through these Sukshma and Karan Shariras over so many lifetimes, and that is for individuals like you and me. The avatar has no other Sharira. He comes, gives his message, completes his avataric career, and goes back to where he comes from. And that's why when Shirdi Baba left and he came back again as Swami, Dr. Hislop had asked him, Swami, where were you in the 8 years between Shirdi Sai avatar and the Sathya Sai avatar? So Swami said, I was where I always am. I had merged myself back into this creation. He becomes the very essence, he is the very essence of this creation. From the essence he manifests into a form, and that form dissolves back into the essence. Till he again once upon desires that he should take a form to accomplish a particular task. So these negative tendencies which individuals like you and me have accumulated through our Sukshma and Karan Shariras over lifetimes are washed with the Ariel and the Tide and all other soaps available in the market. As we wash our clothes, we wash our chitta with the sadhana of karma and bhakti and jnana marga, and clean the chitta of all the accumulated karmas and vasanas. The chitta again becomes pure, like the white cloth which becomes pure after dhobi washes it. The moment the chitta becomes pure, it reflects your divinity from inside. Because inherently, as Swami said, we are all divine. I am God, but you are also God. That's what Swami always used to say. I know I am God. You do not know. We do not know because this mirror of our chitta is full of this dust and dirt of lifetimes of accumulated karmas and vasanas. The process of transformation will involve washing this clean. And when we wash this clean, we realize that we were always divine. And this concept in the Upanishad is called Sarparajju Bhranti. When you are going in the darkness, you feel that, oh, there is a snake, so I have to be very careful. So immediately you bring out a torch. And Kreta had told me when I was coming, she said, I hope you have a torch because there may be some light failure or it's at night. She said, you get a torch, don't forget. So I got it. So when you put on the torch, you see, oh, this is not a snake. It is a rope. I thought it was a snake. Did the snake become a rope because you put on the light? No. The rope was always a rope. You thought it was a snake. Swami said, similarly, you are all divine. Only when this light of wisdom and jnana is shining forth in you, you realize that you are divine. You did not become divine because the light shone on you. You were always divine. The light helped you realize this is the light of jnana which is lit when we undertake this process of transformation. Because this divinity is the same in everybody. In the atheists, it is available in the form of Krodagni and Kamagni, the fire of anger and desires. In the devotee, it is available as the pure Jnana Agni, the fire of wisdom. The same fire is there when you burn a cigarette. The same fire is there when you cook your food. The same fire is there when you lit a pyre. The same fire is there when you perform a yajna. The yajna fire is worshipped. The food fire is used to eat. The cigarette fire is utilized for bad activities. But the fire is same. Similarly, divinity is the same in all. When our chitta is washed clean by the process of transformation and sadhana, you realize that it is the same divinity that is present in everybody. I will conclude with the example that Swami used to give. In typical altars, we always have silver vessels. Even here we have silver vessels. Silver spoon, silver tumbler, silver plate, everything is silver. So we see the difference. The spoon is for serving, the plate is for receiving, the tumbler is for filling with water. But when a thief comes to steal, he will not see the difference between the spoon, the plate and the tumbler. He will think everything is silver. So he will put everything in his bag and move away. Swami said, similarly, you should have that unified vision when you look at the world around, that everything is divine. These are only differences which are apparent. That's why Swami used to say, cows are many, but milk is one. Jewels are many, the gold is one. Nations are many, earth is one. Beings are many, breath is one. Religions are many, God is one. That is nirvana, that is moksha, and that is the culmination of this journey of inner transformation. Jai Sai.